Welcome into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you in our Family Leisure Studios. Landon Schmidt producing for us as always. We're Sports Time. We're with you for the next 3 hours. And a lot to get into today. We've got some breaking news out of the NFL. Earlier this morning, the Titans fired general manager Ran Carthon. And then just a couple minutes ago, the Raiders have announced they have fired head coach Antonio Pierce. We'll have to talk about that. Beau Marchant will join us later in the show to talk NFL. It's been a while since we've had our Tuesday guests, so it'll be a lot of fun catching up with them, but certainly a lot to talk about when it comes to the NBA. New year, we got to make some predictions a little bit later in the show. Grizzlies get a win last night. A lot to talk about today, but Brett, how are you this afternoon?
Brian, I'm doing well, and Antonio Pierce out in Vegas, no shocker. In Nashville, though, I wonder why. I could see the firing of Ran Carthon, but why not the full broom, even after 1 year and the complete reboot and start over for the Titans? And with starting over, it's going to be starting over at quarterback. Oh, yeah. I could have told him. I would have told him. I knew Will Levis was never going to be that in the NFL. Too big a knucklehead, too careless with the football. I didn't think a serious enough a figure around the sport. And the season of 22 in Oxford, when he coughed up that game late to Ole Miss, the Ole Miss heartbreak loss to Kentucky really should have been in 22 as well in Oxford instead of waiting to 24. I wish we could have traded, give them the 22 and get back 24. But I knew from that day on and how loose he was with the ball. And really kind of the unseriousness of him as a football player of the most important position of all a team sport, being asked to be the savior of the franchise, as all these young quarterbacks are. But that's also the problem there. We are using them up and spitting them out at quarterback. The teams, by everybody, every other walk of life, the money's unreal. But by NFL, it's not like it used to be. You're not sacrificing the whole team anymore. And isn't it funny, when we used to do that, that was the sit and wait time. When you had all that money in it, you didn't want to do anything to disrupt their maturation. And now, we got so little in you. If it doesn't work, pre-med, pre-law, we throw you out.
Right, yeah, and with the Titans, I mean, it's just, you go back the last 3 or 4 years and just kind of the leadership there in terms of ownership and the decisions they've made, whether it's general manager or head coach. I mean, it feels like Mike Vrabel is going to interview with every single NFL team that has an opening, and he was kicked to the curb in Nashville, and now Brian Callahan. I mean, he'll keep his job now, but who knows what the future is for him with a new general manager coming in. It's just, it feels like it's kind of a mess right now up in Nashville.
Mike Vrabel is not going to go on and win the Super Bowls that Bill Belichick did. No. But he's going to make the Titans pay.
Oh, absolutely.
Someday, somewhere, it might not be in the next stop, but someday, somewhere, he's going to be holding as a Super Bowl champion head coach the Lombardi Trophy, and they're going to look up. And that was all Ran Carthon. To get him in, he got Vrabel out because he wanted to be the guy in the building. Well, the guy in the building is now out of the building. So maybe they have recognized that they need to start over. At the end of Colin Cowherd, they were talking a lot about the Jets. I can't believe the Jets are really going to do that with Rex Ryan.
How about that? I mean, Rex Ryan.
A pure clown.
And, of course, Rex Ryan and all of his self-confidence that he has, going on to local radio in New York saying, I don't think there's any doubt that I'm going to get my job back, and I'm going to do great things as the head coach of the Jets. Woo. Okay. I'd hate to be a Jets fan. I mean, everything they've gone through, and then all the hope the last couple of years.
One good moment ever.
Yeah. I mean, it's bad. It's really bad.
Okay. 2 or 3.
Maybe.
a couple AFC championship game losses.
Yeah. Ugh. When you're talking about losses being your bright spots,
And for as much as I love Broadway Joe Namath, that is a long, long time ago. We're getting ready to have Super Bowl 59. He made the most famous sports guarantee ever around Super Bowl 3. I mean, just simple math. That's a long time ago.
It's a long, long time ago, and so I would hate to be a Jets fan right now with everything that's going on. And now Rex Ryan getting interviews for your head coach position. That does not scream future succce to me.
And it feels like they're going to get the whole band back together. Tannenbaum running front office, which I really like him. I'm worried a little bit about my friend Phil Savage there. He was director of scouting, then got elevated to interim GM in season. But the problem with the Jets is very similar to the problem with the Raiders. It's the owner, and the owner's not going anywhere.
Yeah, and I've seen a lot of people. I think you can make the argument that Nashville with the Titans, the ownership is a problem.
Sure could.
There. I mean, it feels like that's an issue. Heck, I can make it with my Cowboys. I mean, good Lord,
Bryant, you really could.
The ownership with Dallas with Jerry Jones. I mean, it feels like a lot of places.
All right, if I had 11 national predictions, we're going to do 10 local, 10 national. 11 would be. I probably should have worked this in. I thought about it.
Okay.
I think next fall, season of 2025. Regardless who's coach, McCarthy, new coach, Dackwell, it's the full bottoming out. 3-14, laughing stock of all time.
Yeah, I'm glad you didn't put that on your list. I mean, just hearing
that's
it
11.
As your 11th.
I just worked in 11, didn't I?
I love it. An extra one to go. But no, I mean, it's bad. I've been,
Has Jerry Jones already done enough bad to make up for all the good, to eclipse all the good?
Yeah, I mean, he's getting there if he hasn't already.
It's getting close. I mean, he's in Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Yeah. You
go into their headquarters, there's still 3 big trophies sitting there under 2 coaches.
Yep.
He said 500 could win it.
Yeah.
Only one more did after Jimmy Johnson.
Well, I mean, Brett, you talk about it's been a long time for Jets. It's been a long time for Cowboys. I mean,
time's marching on, isn't it?
Time's marching on. My lifetime
okay, it's not
has not been
56
kind
years,
to me as a
but
Cowboys fan.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been a lot of disappointment.
And Brian, to you and to Cowboy fans, I'm going to say under 40. Y'all got to have something other than highlight reels.
Yeah, I mean, it's my whole life as a Cowboy fan has been disappointment. It's been getting close, but just can't get over the hump. And
Brian, I talked about around the Tigers bowl win and getting to 11-2. I talked a lot about perspective, and I really was planting the seed then, because I had a good feeling about the Ole Miss bowl game, and I'm still on perspective even when it comes to Ole Miss. Because there was a time at Ole Miss, its fans under a certain age group, it had to get more than just remember Archie stories.
Yeah. I mean, you gotta take that next step, and certainly for the Cowboys, I don't think it's coming anytime soon. At least with this leadership and coaching staff and what's going on right now. Which
if the stories are true. If left to his own devices on a couple of draft nights, it could be even worse for the Cowboys with Jerry Jones.
Yes, so no fun. But, hey, fingers crossed still. Bears haven't gotten an answer back about if they can interview Mike McCarthy or not. Fingers crossed that they make a decision and say, go ahead, interview him.
Speaking of Dallas and the Metroplex, have you seen the forecast for Thursday? Now, the game will be indoors at AT&T Stadium, but in and around the area, 8 to 12 inches of snow.
I have not. I actually.
Big Ten ought to say, let's go to the old Cotton Bowl and play.
Honestly, they would love that. They'd finally get their snow they were talking about before the playoffs started. I'll be honest, Brett. Up until probably 12:30, 1 o'clock this afternoon, I didn't even know that there was forecast for us getting snow on Friday.
Snowmageddon, yeah.
I had no idea. And then Melinda called me, and she was talking about something. She was like, hey, yeah, by the way, Friday, we're supposed to be getting a lot of snow. And I was like...
It's a run on bread and milk right now as we speak.
What are you talking about? And so then I looked it up. I was like, sure enough. And I had no idea about Dallas getting so much snow.
Yeah, it doesn't look like we can miss Friday. Now, I won't call out, and I know it's hard. But I saw one of the local weather people last night warn, now the models aren't consistent this far out. Wait a second. I see a 10-day forecast they put up every day there.
Every day.
We can't get Friday right?
Yeah, you at least get a 7-day. At the very least, you could tell
I mean, Al Gore's got the temperature pegged for in 200 years from now.
That's right. We always.
So we can't get Friday right?
Yeah, I mean, we always talk about next week out and stuff like that. I mean, give me a couple days at least. I mean, get that right.
Do you ever go to AccuWeather and look really long way out?
I don't ever look super far out. I'll look at the 10-day a lot and kind of look at next week, but I don't really go further than that.
All right, under the proviso of if AccuWeather is accurate, it looks like we're going to be locked in kind of pretty cold for us, for anybody, through February.
Really? Wow. See, I take that back. The only time I do look way out, I will say when we get closer to the golf tournament, about a month out or so, I'll kind of start looking at what the weather's going to be like around
Why
the
do you
golf
look
tournament.
at the forecast for the golf tournament? I can tell you now what the forecast for the golf tournament's going to be next August at TPC Southwind.
It's going to be very hot.
And then if it's anything other than that, then you really got a story.
Yeah, you do. But
that's the outlier. That'll be the bold headlines if we had headlines.
It's usually pretty consistent though.
If the headlines next summer at TPC Southwind, if we come on there, it feels like football season out here, almost autumnal out here. Then we got a really breaking story.
Yeah. It's the complete other side of it is what it always is.
And you know what? We got it this year at the Liberty Bowl.
Oh yeah.
That was a warm.
Yeah.
But I think you could have sat out there that night just in a shirt.
Yeah, I saw a lot of people in short
sleeves. Certainly any type of jacket. You didn't need long handles or gloves or anything. Let me tell you, if I go to a Liberty Bowl and I don't need gloves, that means it's warm.
I mean, it's very warm because we know how you are. You get cold pretty easy.
It was colder in Jacksonville at kickoff for the Gator Bowl than it was in Memphis for the Liberty Bowl.
Wow.
So that was a story. But if it had been cold, that's not a story for the Liberty Bowl.
Always cold at the Liberty Bowl. That's something that you can always usually bank
on.
But
it's not always cold. I have been to a lot of. I've been to warmer Liberty Bowls.
Really?
A friend texts right now said it's already Texas death match at the grocery stores. I mean, it's step over toe holds going on now over that last loaf of bread.
I had no idea. I'm just now learning about the snow.
Well, you're out. No bread for you.
Yeah, I guess I'll be hungry over the weekend, but that's okay. Grizzlies, they got the win last night over the Mavericks. We talked about it a lot yesterday. We'll talk about it more in our next segment. But Jaren Jackson Jr., what he is doing, especially with some of these injuries, he has been so much fun to watch this year.
Jaren Jackson has been a star, a superstar this year. And you go and look at all the different things in Grizzlies history, points scored, rebounds, assists, blocks. He is really moving up every one of those lists.
Yeah.
I mean, he's moving up there in the name of the core four on all those lists.
Yeah, he's been so much fun. And I think, I can't remember who it was that we talked with maybe a month or so ago. It was either DeMichael or Rob or Keith, somebody was kind of talking about it and said, last year when Jaren is healthy and it feels like everybody else on the team is injured and, the Grizzlies, the season's not going anywhere. You're just trying to weather the storm, get through the year, and get to next season. We all talked about the stories of G.G. Jackson and Vince Williams Jr. and them being able to get a chance to show what they have and capitalizing on that. Well, one of the bigger stories that you're starting to see now is them putting Jaren in different situations and letting him handle the ball, bring the ball up, be more of a ball handler, be more of a facilitator, be more of a scorer than he usually is when everyone's healthy. And you're seeing him kind of have that confidence and take that next step as a player this year, and he's been fantastic.
Already in team history, field goals 7th, field goals attempts 7th, 2-point field goals 9th, 2-point field goal attempts 10th, 3-point field goals made 4th, 3-point field goals attempted 3rd, field goals missed 7th, free throws 8th, free throws attempts 8th, defensive rebounds 10th, total rebounds 10th, steals 8th, blocks 3rd. I don't want to mention turnovers 10th, personal fouls 4th. Don't want to mention that either.
No.
Points scored 7th. triple doubles. He's in a tie down there with a lot of people for that, but he's done that quietly.
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah. Very quietly, I would say, but
just over the march of time.
Yeah, and has really come along really well, and it definitely looks like he's making that jump into kind of that next tier of player, and he was definitely the big story last night. 35 points, 13 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals, a block, all in 35 minutes. Led the team
late in the game. Pete read that stat line. And it was, whoa, listening to it.
I mean, it was a great performance from him. We'll talk more about that game a little bit in our next segment. Also, kind of the other big news, Chris Haynes reported earlier this afternoon that Jimmy Butler has no interest in playing in Memphis. That had kind of become a rumor. I don't really know where it came from. It just felt like all of these, random betting odds.
I'm so proud of us. You know why?
Why?
We never mentioned it yesterday.
No. We brought it up.
I didn't take it seriously. I didn't want to I didn't want to, say anything disparage anyone. Didn't bring it up with DeMichael.
No.
I didn't think it had a snowball's chance, and maybe even on Friday in Memphis to make it.
And now I'm hearing there's going to be a lot of snow on Friday in Memphis. But no, I mean it felt very random. We brought it up very briefly with DeMichael, and he did what I wanted him to do, was kind of just move on from it and say that's really nothing. And he even put out a tweet today, kind of saying that. This is what DeMichael Cole tweeted out earlier today. I never really said a word about the Jimmy Butler stuff. Was quite confused on where it was coming from, honestly. Never got the sense that Memphis was heavily involved in those conversations.
It came from the betting markets.
And my guess is just, Grizzlies, good team. They could try to add that star to, go to the take their team further.
I know what inspires the betting markets. Bets.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't know where those bets were coming from. I know here, Tennessee doesn't offer those type of bets, so certainly wasn't Grizzly fans that were betting.
Oh, is that right? You couldn't have bet on that.
I've never seen a bet of in season. Where does this player land? I don't believe Tennessee allows for those bets unless you do kind of offshore betting. But in terms of the standard FanDuel, DraftKings, I don't believe in Tennessee they offer those bets. But certainly other places in Vegas they offer those type of bets. But it looks like that's being swatted down now by Chris Haynes. Well, let me set up today's show before we get to top and not top story of the day. 3:30, we'll talk more about the Grizzlies and their win yesterday over the Dallas Mavericks, 119-104 victory at home. 3:45, Brett mentioned it. We're going to do top 10 predictions. We'll start at 3:45 with our top 10 national predictions for 2025. 4 o'clock, Brent Beard from First Coast News in Jacksonville. He'll join us to talk some college football. It's been a while since we've talked with Brent Beard, so a lot to catch up on with everything going on in the NFL and everything going on with the college football playoffs. 4:30, Matt Infield from Action News 5. He'll join us. Usually joins us at 3:30, but he'll be joining us today at 4:30 to talk Tigers. A lot to get to with Tiger basketball team playing really well, and the football team adding a lot in the transfer portal. If depending on what sites you look at, Rivals currently has Memphis as the number 3 transfer portal class in college football. So they're bringing in a lot of guys, bringing in some very quality transfers for next season. So we'll talk all of that with Matt Infield. 4:45, we'll get to big number of the day. 5 o'clock, Beau Marchant will join us to talk the NFL, and plenty to get to with the playoffs getting ready to start this weekend. Coaches in and out. The draft now on a lot of teams' minds that didn't make the playoffs. Plenty to get to at 5 o'clock with Beau Marchant. 5:30, we will switch gears, go to our 10 local predictions for 2025, and then we'll wrap up today's show like we always do with Crunch Time at 5:45. Let me remind you, we're in our Family Leisure studios where family and fun come together. Get over to Family Leisure for the floor model sale. All 2024 inventory, it's got to go. Help them make room for 2025. All floor models up to 50% off. Cold plunges starting at $49.99. Hot tubs up to $3,000 off with free steps and chemicals included. Don't forget about the pool tables, arcades, ping pong tables, air hockey tables, foosball tables, all 20 to 60% off, and theater seating up to 75% off. It's also not too early to start thinking about pool season. Buy now and get on the schedule for install before the rush. Head over to Family Leisure, 2120 Whitten Road, just north of I-40.
Produced by Landon Schmidt, we are Sportstime, and we're with you till 6 o'clock. And we promise to keep you warm all the way until 6 o'clock. After that, you're on your own.
That's
you got to
right.
stay warm the best way you can. He's Brian, I'm Brett. We are Sportstime, and every day this hour brought to you by Lexus of Memphis at 2600 Ridgeway and online at lexusofmemphis.com. Call them at 901-334-9673. Great offers on all 2025 models, and as always, special leasing options. Driving luxury and confidence, knowing that every new Lexus comes with complimentary first and second maintenance services. Stop by Lexus of Memphis at 2600 Ridgeway and put yourself in the driver's seat of the all-new 2025 flagship LS500, and you'll be driving in style. When you purchase a Lexus, you get top-of-the-line engineering and design they make for the luxury driving experience. Online at lexusofmemphis.com. Experience amazing at Lexus of Memphis.
Top story of the day.
Well, my top story of the day, it's got to be the Grizzlies and their win last night over the Mavericks. 119-104. It was the Jaren Jackson Jr. game. He's had a lot of them this year, but last night was a lot of fun. He was 13 for 23 from the field, 35 points, 13 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals, and a block in 35 minutes of action. I forgot who said this a couple days ago, and I was like, yeah, no, I completely agree with that. You look at Jaren Jackson Jr. and the way he's developed into the player he is today, and I think a lot of people would start by talking about who he is as a defensive player, a defensive player of the year award winner, but I think you could argue that when he won that award, it was a lot based on his shot blocking prowess. He was a fantastic shot blocker, still is a fantastic shot blocker, but I think you could argue that in terms of just guarding his man, he had some flaws. He is definitely getting better on that end, and then what he's adding offensively as a scorer, but also as a guy that you have much more confidence in now than you did even last year to bring the ball up. Once they bring it past half court, they give him the ball and kind of let him work the offense, and you saw him do that last night with not only 35 points, but the 5 assists that he had. Jaren Jackson Jr. is developing into the player that a lot of people thought he would be on draft night. And I should say this, he had the ball in his hands a lot, kind of working the offense. 5 assists, only 2 turnovers last night for Jaren Jackson Jr. So a really impressive game from him, and it's been fun to watch him improve. You look at the other guys, Jalen Wells had a big game last night, 17 points. Scottie Pippen Jr. with 18. He had a couple guys off the bench come in and make an impact. I know Dallas was out their 2 star players, but when you look at those back-to-back losses on the road, you definitely wanted the Grizzlies to return to FedEx Forum and get a win, one more home game before they're back on the road again. So you want them to capitalize in their home building. They were able to do that last night.
You can text or call us at 901-360-8255 at the Sissy's Log Cabin text and talk line, and all our guests will appear at the Sissy's Log Cabin guest line at 901-360-8255. We really want your input on a lot of these predictions that we're going to do. We want your input on anything, but we really want it on that. My top story, the NFL tournament field is all set. Some surprises like Washington and Tampa Bay being in. Jim Harbaugh in year 1 in with the Chargers. No shock with Kansas City and Detroit. Lack of San Francisco is very surprising. No Cowboys from the NFC East. But from the NFC East, you got Philadelphia. And I'm calling it. I don't need predictions. I don't need to wait for predictions for this one. If the Eagles, if they go out and they lost in ugly fashion this weekend at home against Green Bay, Nick Sirianni will be out. He'll be out 14-3 regular season, but a lot of little controversies around them.
Sure.
If they stunk it up at home, that that crowd's going to boo him. They may boo if they win. I don't think he survives it.
They booed Santa Claus, Brett. And they can boo anybody.
They famously boo Santa.
Yeah, very, very famously.
Man, that's a heartless person to boo Santa.
Well, yeah. It's a guy. It's someone
might want to boo him on the 26th if you didn't get what you want.
Sure.
But that means you got to get anything next year.
Exactly. You got to be very careful booing Santa Claus. Only very few people you have to be careful with booing them. Santa Claus is one of them.
Not top story of the day.
My not top story of the day has got to be the FCS championship game last night. A lot of people, I think it shows how much this country loves football. When all of my friends are texting last night about the FCS championship game, my Twitter is full of people talking about the FCS championship game.
Great game.
It was a great game. It was awesome. North Dakota State, they go out and really get a big lead. It looked like they might run away with it. Montana State in the second half, they fight all the way back. They score with a little more than a minute left in the game, end up forcing a North Dakota State punt, and the punt able to hang in the air and bounce out just long enough to run out the clock. A really fun game for North Dakota State to win their 10th FCS title, and it's their 10th since 2011. The dominance by North Dakota State has been there at the FCS level, and that was a really fun game to watch last night.
My not top story, 5 games tonight in the nation's best college basketball conference, the SEC.
Yep.
All first time in league road trips, because if you were at home last weekend, you're on the road for these 2 games, or these nights, tonight and tomorrow night. And if you were on the road, you're back at home. So we get to see some real good tests like Mark Pope, first SEC roadie for him to Georgia. Get to see Bruce Pearl in Austin. You get to see Mississippi State at Memorial. You get to see Tigers against Tigers with LSU playing Mizzou and Memphis Tiger fans. You got to pull for Mizzou and Ole Miss the rest of the way. That helps in the net world. And number 1, Tennessee, right by the swamp in Gainesville.
Yeah, that's going to be the big game of the night, Tennessee and Florida at 6 o'clock. That's going to be a lot of fun to watch. Well, that'll do it for top and not top story of the day. Let's go ahead and get to our first break, and when we come back, we're going to talk more about the Grizzlies and their win last night over the Dallas Mavericks. That's next on Sports Time.
Start your day with Sports 56 Mornings with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy. Weekday mornings from 7 to 10. Right here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Napa Cafe celebrates 26 years in 2024. Hi, I'm Glenda Hastings, owner of Napa Cafe, and I want to thank you for making us part of your dining experiences. If you are a first-time guest or have dined with us countless times, I want to thank you for making us part of your lives. Whether you're celebrating with the crowd or planning a cozy date night on the town, Napa Cafe can provide you an extraordinary evening. We have 5 dining rooms, including our private wine cellar, our Jan's room for 2 guests, and the Eleanor room for parties up to 60. Sit back, relax, and celebrate. Leave the cooking to us. Come see me at Napa Cafe, 5101 Sanderlin Avenue. We're open Wednesday through Saturday for dinner starting at 5 o'clock. We also offer curbside pickup from our full menu. For details on our stay-in, dine-out menu or reservations, visit our website at napacafe.com. Come join us as we celebrate 26 years of Napa Cafe in 2024. We can't wait to serve you.
The new year is here. Time for change. Start a recession-resistant new career in the high-demand fields of IT, cybersecurity, and AI with My Computer Career in just months. Already in IT? Build your cybersecurity skills and prep for thousands of open positions employers nationwide are desperate to fill. Attend classes live online or on campus. Make this your year. Go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation today. That's mycomputercareer.edu. Financial aid is available to those who qualify, including the GI Bill.
Every Monday night at 6, hear the latest news on your Ole Miss Rebels with Nancy Porter with 24/7 Sports. Your Ole Miss defensive captain Mike Fitzsimmons, Gordon Ford covering SEC sports film, and former Ole Miss baseball announcer Gary Garvey from kickoff coverage through to extra innings. Your Ole Miss sports on the Rebel Yell Hotline Show right here Monday night at 6 on Sports 56, 560 AM and 98.5 FM. Your Mid-South Sports Station. Sports 56 traffic.
Good afternoon. It looks pretty good right now on Sam Cooper over here, where they've been working on and off for the last 30 days or so as you come past Highland and also there at Perkins. Still moving south of Memphis on the interstate as we check it out live on 55 going southbound down through DeSoto County. No shortage of radar there in that area, the southern portion of DeSoto County this afternoon. Be careful. Hey, make a difference by adopting a pet at the Humane Society of Memphis and Shelby County. Check out the animals that are up for adoption by logging onto their website at memphisHumane.org. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Now, back to Sports Time. Sports Classics. This hour is brought to you by Lexus Nice. Here are your hosts, Star Sports Rookie, Brian Davis.
Welcome back into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you in our Family Leisure Studios. We got to talk about the Grizzlies and their win last night over the Dallas Mavericks, a 119-104 win over the Mavs. It was a Mavs team that was without Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving, but it was Jaren Jackson who made the headlines with 35 points, 13 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals, a block, and only 2 turnovers while playing a ton of minutes in that game last night.
And, Bryant, that was a great crowd for really any time, but especially we know that first Monday after the long holiday on an extremely bitterly cold night, we know in a lot of years past, that was sparse. That would be, something 7,000, 8,000 range. Last night, about 15,000, 16,000 strong, with a lot of stars out of the game. I mean, when it's decided to go to the game, then we're going to see Dallas tonight, right? And no Luka, no Kyrie, no Ja, why go? Plenty did. The Grizzlies have done a great job of building that base up with the crowd. And last night, the hometown fans were rewarded with a great win. Really, really a simple, pretty much easy win. I don't think many people doubted that they would win that game, and I don't think many people are feeling too sorry for Dallas across the river with all the injuries. The Grizzlies certainly know that, and that seed, I think everybody's playing for the 2 seed. Oklahoma City's going to win the West. You're playing for the 2 seed. 2 through 6, it's going to be volatile to the last game of the year. So you gotta take care of business and win those home games. And the Grizzlies have done that this year, 15-4 at home, 9-9 on the road. At the end of the year, I'll take 500 on the road.
Definitely. And so, you wanted them to come back home and get a win, and they were able to do that. But you're right. I think how competitive this Western Conference is going to be. And so when you have opportunities like this, I know the Grizzlies are banged up, but when you face one of these Western Conference teams, when they're down their stars, you got to capitalize on it. Grizzlies able to do that, and it doesn't get any easier because Thursday night, another home game, but it's against a Houston team that has been really impressive this year.
And that's one of the main teams you got to fend off for seeding. Houston right now, they're in the second spot, 23-12, a game up in the all-important loss column over Memphis. That's one of the kind of the must ones. As much as you get into must in the NBA and in professional sports, especially baseball and basketball, that you play so many games. Last year, the Grizzlies only won 27 for the year. Last night, the 24th win. And I think 2 really good opportunities in the next 2 against Houston and Minnesota, and then Houston again on the road. So if the next 2 times you play them, better get that one at home Thursday.
Yeah, it's weird how the
early
schedule,
start to Thursday.
Yeah, that's right. Very weird how these next 6 games go, because you have 6 games, but it's only against 3 teams, because you'll see Houston twice, you'll see Minnesota twice, and you'll see San Antonio twice.
They play at 7 Thursday. I'm sorry.
Okay, 7 o'clock on Thursday. But, you're going to see these guys, all of these teams over these next 6 games. You're going to see all of them twice, so you're going to get a good look at them and then get to see them again. In terms of San Antonio, you're going to see them back-to-back, a Wednesday night game and then a Friday night game that will be on ESPN.
Play Houston again last Thursday of the month. That is an early game on TNT. So you'll see a lot of the Rockets, 2 out of 3 in that stretch against them to give a little bit of a working margin for potentially that 2. We called it yesterday. When we get to these local predictions, it's going to be a lot of Tigers, a lot of Grizzlies. I'm very bullish on both.
Yeah. All right, I like it. I'm excited. I mean, you've kind of set the bar for your predictions.
very bold.
Okay, I like it.
If I hit on 2 of the 10, I'll be really pleased.
I'm a tad ashamed of the lack of boldness in my predictions for both local and national.
Well, the lack of boldness leaves lack of egg on the face, so that's probably a safe play.
Yeah, but if I'm going to do predictions, I want to shoot for the stars.
Well, I'm aiming pretty high.
I'm excited about it. I really
Grizzlies
am.
and Tigers.
Okay, well, I'm excited to hear them. Local won't be until 5:30. We'll get to national in our next segment. Going back to the Grizzlies in last night's game, Jaren has been all the talk really today from that game last night. But Scottie Pippen was awesome last night. 18 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, and then defensively 5 steals. He was all over the place.
And candidly, he hadn't been lately. And that game was needed. Long year, you're going to have those kind of games. 15 turnovers last night for the Grizzlies. Dallas with the same. That's still a tick or two high.
A little bit
for a pro team.
Yeah, it's a little high, but certainly in terms of what the Grizzlies have been doing lately, moving in the right direction. I think I saw yesterday in their last 6 or 7 games, they had 17 or more turnovers in all but one. I think it was 5 of the last 6, 17 or more turnovers. So, maybe, that's certainly better than what they've been doing recently. But yeah, turnovers have been the biggest issue for the Grizzlies.
And we talked to DeMichael about it yesterday. To prevent the turnovers, do you sell out and limit the pace and trying to get the shots up that they've gone to? I think you have to live with the turnovers.
I think you do, and I think the hope is
you can't change styles mid-season.
No, especially the way the Grizzlies are doing that, because it's a completely new style this year that they're implementing. And so I think the hope is that as the season progresses and as you get into February and March, that the more these guys get used to this system and how fast you're playing, that those turnovers kind of start winding down.
And the news sounded better late yesterday afternoon about Ja. I'm ready to see it. I feel like it's going to happen. Zach Edey, he's going to play. He's going to be a part of the team. He's got to be better than he was last night.
Yeah, and that's kind of what this season has been for Zach Edey. It's been really up and down. He'll have games where you're going, wow, that was a really good performance by him, and then there are other games where you're going, okay, I want to see more from you. And so I think that's another one. I think you hope as the year goes on that you see him improving. I think you've already seen that from him improving as the year has gone on.
Last night, 13 minutes, 4 points.
Yeah,
and he's got to be better than that.
Yeah, and then the rebounds. I mean, only 3 rebounds last night. You definitely want more, especially if he's not getting the points. You want him to be a presence on the glass.
He should have 3 rebounds in the layup line.
Yeah, yeah, and that's what you drafted him for, is to be that presence down low, grabbing rebounds, doing that dirty stuff. And so you want to see that from him, and you didn't see that last night.
I mean, Dallas, they are hurting and missing that big 2. A lot of teams would be very questionable without those.
Yeah, and I think on the flip side of that, you look kind of going back to Zach Edey, you look at who Dallas has in the front court, and they have some very athletic big men that can make it difficult, and certainly did make it difficult for Zach Edey last night. Derek Lively, who's been really good in his first couple of years in the NBA. PJ Washington, that kind of 4 that's very athletic. But yeah, that was a good win. That's what you wanted to see from the Grizzlies against a team that's missing their stars.
I know it's after at least the halfway point, if not after the All-Star break. But there is a point where it starts getting later in the year. Dallas fits into that. Minnesota is there. Golden State and the Lakers are there. You got to do something.
That's a great question, Brett. When does it go from it's still early to it's getting later in the season? When do we hit that point?
I don't think any doubt after come back from the All-Star break. That's around the 54, 55 games played mark.
Yeah, I mean that's I think that's the right point. Is once you come back from All-Star break, is you got to start doing. You got to decide who you are as a team.
And that'll be after trade deadline.
Yep.
I mean, this is This is the Army you're going to war with.
Yeah. This is your team, and so we'll learn a lot. Speaking of trade deadline, I mentioned it earlier. Chris Haynes kind of shut down the idea of Jimmy Butler with Memphis, and it fueled DeMichael Cole to write a story in the Commercial Appeal that published earlier this afternoon about what the Grizzlies could do now around the trade deadline. What do you think the Grizzlies will do as we get closer to the trade deadline?
It feels like something, but I think it will be more on the margin than primary. But you have to give to get.
Yeah.
Yesterday, DeMichael even mentioned with us that it could be as many 3 out for somebody coming in. The Grizzlies have that. I don't know that it's going to be a name brand. I don't think it will. The Grizzlies have stars.
Yes.
The Grizzlies need helpers.
Yes, and that was one of the points that DeMichael made in this story. He was kind of going through the options. Obviously, Cam Johnson was in there, a name that has been out there for the Grizzlies.
He's been in every deal.
He is the new in every single deal. Every team making a push at Cam Johnson. But one of the final thing that DeMichael left with was, maybe they do something very small, but nothing big, because you have the star power. You have Ja Morant when he's healthy. You have Jaren Jackson Jr. Desmond Bane is that nice third scoring option. But you also have that depth, and maybe you can go and get somebody and maybe give up a little bit to get something on the fringes. But you don't have to go out there and try to get a super splashy addition.
Yeah, I don't think you have to deal just to deal. This front office has never shown shown that.
No. They have never been a group that tries to jump out of there and just make a trade to make a trade. But they certainly have the depth that they can make a deal if they feel like one fits them. The other thing for the Grizzlies, the Grizzlies PR posted earlier today that G.G. Jackson would practice with the Memphis Hustle today before returning to the Grizzlies once that practice was complete. I think another sign that G.G. Jackson getting closer and closer.
Well, we know what he can do.
Oh, yeah.
How about that? And I get mad at the Cardinals around any trade deadline when they invariably will tell the fans, well, we didn't need to make a deal. We just had to get somebody healthy. Yeah. That's accurate with the Grizzlies.
Yeah. The addition is already on the team. And for the Grizzlies, we saw what G.G. Jackson did last year. We saw what Vince did last year. And so both those guys have really been out all season long, and if you can get both those guys back, it certainly looks like Gigi a little closer than Vince. That is another option that can come in and be a huge impact player for you.
Who's the West team you think the Grizzlies really will be battling with for seeding and for maybe a slot?
That is a really good question. I mean, the West is always so loaded, so it's
and of course Jimmy Butler wants to go to the West.
Of course, and he wants to go to the Suns is what it's starting to look like. And man, the Suns, it feels like they're a couple seconds away from imploding. But I don't know. I mean, I think I know Denver has kind of been up and down this year, but when they have Jokic and certainly can make additions, I don't think you ever want to. Yeah,
Denver over Boston.
Yeah, I don't think you ever want to count them out. So I would say probably Denver. I think the Rockets, I like them, but I don't know if I think they can hold on all year.
I think it'd be Memphis and Denver battling 2-3 with the Rockets probably falling in 4-5.
I like that a lot. So we'll see.
With the Clippers.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Clippers, especially as they continue to get healthy. I think they'll definitely be a factor in there. But Grizzlies in a really good spot right now. Currently third with the Rockets and the Thunder right in front of them. Let's go ahead and get to another break. And when we come back, it's time to start making some predictions. We'll get to our top 10 national predictions for 2025.
Be sure to follow us at Sports56 WHBQ on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube to watch live video of our shows. Stay up to date with station events and have chances to win prizes. Don't miss out on anything that's going on. Follow us at Sports56 WHBQ. The Family Leisure floor model sale is happening right now through the end of January. Family Leisure has got to get rid of all the 2024 inventory because all the new 2025 items are starting to arrive. All floor models are up to 50% off. You want a cold plunge tub? They start at $49.99. Go the other route with a hot tub. Get $1,000 off with free steps and chemicals. Family Leisure has pool tables, arcades, ping pong, air hockey, even baseball tables from 20 to 60% off. Want beers here? Family Leisure has theater seating up to 75% off. Plus, now's the time to start thinking about pool seats. You can buy it now, get on the installation schedule, and be ready before everyone else. Special financing is also available. Hey, if you want to get free delivery on any of these items, you just tell the phone staff at Family Leisure that you are this commercial. It's the floor model. So now, through the end of January, Family Leisure, in Road I-40, family and fun come together.
Tiger fans, don't miss the action when Memphis men's basketball welcomes East Carolina to FedEx Forum Saturday, January 11th. The Tigers will tip off against the Pirates in an American Conference matchup at 1 o'clock as we celebrate Kids Day with face painters, balloon artists, and a halftime baby race. It's time to stand up, Memphis, and support your Tigers at FedEx Forum in a big-time matchup that you do not want to miss. Memphis and East Carolina, Saturday, January 11th at 1 o'clock. Get your tickets now at GoTigersGo.com.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good afternoon. It checks out okay right now as we check it out live here on 40 East from Hollywood all the way over to White Station, passing Covington Pike. There's been a couple of EMS calls out here the last 15, 20 minutes, but for the most part, all the major outbound routes still looking pretty good right now. Hey, Weimer's Jewelry, serving the Memphis area for what? Over 40 years, no matter what the occasion is that's coming up, and that would be Valentine's Day. Go by and see them at Weimer's Jewelry on Highway 64. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56. This hour is brought to you by Lexus Service. Here are your hosts, Brent Star Sports Movie and Brian Davis.
Welcome back into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you, and it's time to make some predictions. It's the new year, so we have some predictions nationally right now. We'll get to local predictions at 5:30, but Brett, why don't you go ahead and start with your first national prediction for 2025?
I will, and you'll lead us off with the local at 5:30. I'll run through all my national. Number 10, Dodgers versus Yankees again in the World Series, with the Yankees winning this October. Number 9, 3 out of 4 final 4 teams in San Antonio will be from the SEC, and it will be these teams: Tennessee, Auburn, and Mississippi State.
Whoa.
Number 8, Oklahoma City over Cleveland in late June for the NBA championship. Number 7, college football playoff announces for the future for 26 and beyond, 16 teams, no campus games. Number 6, Tom Brady is forced by the league to decide. You want to be a broadcaster or you want to be an owner? You can't be both. Take your pick.
I love it.
Number 5, Nico wins the Heisman. Tennessee's first Heisman Trophy winner next December will be Nico. Number 4, Roger Goodell at some point this year announces his resignation, and a player that didn't win the Heisman at Tennessee will be his successor, Peyton Manning. Successor to Roger Goodell, announced this year as commissioner of the NFL. Number 3, Detroit Lions win Super Bowl 59 in New Orleans over Buffalo. Number 2, only 3 in 2024, but double that in 2025. 6 SEC teams make the college football playoff in 2025 after only 3 in 2024. Those 6 will be Georgia, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, Texas, Tennessee, and Alabama. And number 1 national prediction, Scotty Scheffler wins the Grand Slam. He repeats at the Masters. He wins the PGA at Quail Hollow. He repeats U.S. Open at Oakmont in June and closes it out at the Open Championship at Royal Portrush in July in Northern Ireland.
Wow. All right. I love it. Okay. Yours are, I think, better than mine. I like yours a lot more than mine.
I went with B as in bold.
You did go with bold. All right, I'll start with mine. Mine are in no particular order whatsoever. So I'll just start at the top and work down. Number one, at the end of 2025, the SEC will be in the mix for a Triple Crown champion. It will have a winner from the SEC in college basketball, a winner from the SEC in baseball, and it will have a couple teams in the mix to win it for college football. That would be incredible if the SEC could be on top in all three of those sports. My next one, number two, the Steelers. They say Mike Tomlin's done a great job for us, but just not enough. They trade Mike Tomlin. A trade? A coach trade?
Thought you said you didn't go bold.
Well, maybe a couple of them. Mike Tomlin traded from the Steelers. Number three, Aaron Rodgers announces he is retiring. He does not play to start 2025.
Well, I want to see you come in bold.
Well, I mean, I wanted a little bolder, but the Tomlin one was pretty bold. I will say that. Number four, LeBron James announces before the 2025-26 season that this will be his last year, and he will have a retirement tour his last year.
Brian, you played the best rope-a-dope ever. All mine aren't very bold. Yours are a lot wilder than mine. You've come in with great stuff.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And we're not done. Number five, the Celtics win back-to-back titles this year. They brought back pretty much everybody on that roster. They're playing really well right now. Why not? They go back-to-back, and they will play number six. The Thunder will make the NBA Finals. This young group that they have, they get through the gauntlet of the West and make the NBA Finals. Number seven, Sam Darnold is the starting quarterback for the Vikings on opening day 2025, which means they give him a new contract, and you got to imagine.
Do they trade J.J. McCarthy?
Yeah, that would be the question, because it's got to be a big one with what he's going to be offered.
He'd be the number one pick if he were coming out of the draft this year.
Oh, yeah. He absolutely would be by far, I would say. Number eight for me, Ashton Genty breaks the Cowboys rookie record for rushing yards and rushing touchdowns, both which were set by Ezekiel Elliott. Number nine for me, the Chiefs three-peat. Would be incredible if they were able to do that. They three-peated here in about a month. And then my 10th and final prediction. The Mets will miss the playoffs while the Yankees win the World Series following the Juan Soto drama. Yeah, we both had Yankees winning it all.
We got there on Oklahoma City.
Yep.
We got there with the Yankees.
Yep.
We were close on SEC.
Mm-hmm.
You had everything.
Yeah.
I had 3 out of 4 in basketball and football. You did a great job there, Brian, of underselling and over-delivering.
Thank you. I try. But
you did.
As I told Landon during one of the breaks, and I was trying to solidify all of my predictions, and I said, I don't think they're very bold. I don't have, like, Martians invade Earth and start an NBA basketball team. I mean, that would be...
Yeah, we had that a few years ago anyway. So
that would be crazy. But
what do you think about Tom Brady taking? I've talked about it. He's got to decide which one he wants to do.
Got to.
If I'm these other teams, okay, we played along for fun this year. I know the league he's a great looking guy, the history of the league. Give him his shot. I don't want him near my building if he's going to be that primary in ownership.
No, and I mean, you look at Tom Brady and everything about him, from his diet, how he goes about being a player, and everything was greatness. I mean, he is in the conversation now for greatest.
This is no backseat driver.
No. And so, for him to be at that quarterback position, to be as great as he was, I do not want him affiliated with an NFL team and also in my office, in my building, trying to do his reports for his Sunday afternoon game. Because as much as we can all say that, he's going to keep one on one side and the other on the other, I mean, at the end of the day, if Tom Brady thinks he has an edge somewhere and gets some information, are we supposed to believe that he is going to just keep that to himself for his broadcast?
I think it's who sells? Is it Apple that sells the smart glasses?
I think maybe Samsung has a smart. I don't think Apple's done the smart glasses.
Whoever. Tom Brady lives with smart glasses on.
Yeah.
He's walking in there and recording and breaking down everything just with his vision and his brain. he's watching everything in your operation. There's no way I let my coaches go and talk to him. You can talk all this. Well, he's a broadcaster, and it's just down the middle, and it's for entertainment. No. He's in there playing for keeps.
Yo, he absolutely is. And so, no.
You wouldn't let Belichick in your building.
So why would you let Tom Brady? And so.
And you shouldn't.
No. And
you
so,
want to announce? Announce.
Yes. Pick one. And I understand. Look, I get it. Everybody flocking to let's get Tom Brady affiliated with us in some way, whether it's at quarterback, whether it's in some sort of ownership role, television. He's a brilliant guy. He's one of the greats. I understand, but he cannot do everything all at the same time. You've got to make him pick.
He has to be sitting in those meetings with Mark Davis and thinking, and then when he gets in his car, he laughs that guy runs a team.
Oh yeah, I mean it's crazy. And if you're somebody in the Raiders, I mean, are you not every single week going, hey man, you had this game last week. What did you learn about this team? I mean, they're texting him, calling him, trying to get that info out of him.
And should, and you know they are.
Yes, they got to be. So, no, I think that was, in terms of going far-fetched, I think that was the more tamed, your most tamed probably, because they've got to do something about him.
Nico winning the Heisman, Tennessee, no doubt the best school to never not have a Heisman Trophy winner.
Yeah, I loved that one. Nico, I think a lot of people had the big expectations for him this year, and certainly he was good, but
that was it.
They had enough where they didn't need him to do a ton, and that helped them because he wasn't ready to be the offense yet, and they were able to have that older running back in Dylan Sampson that, hey, let's just hand the ball off to him. We're going to be a team that runs a lot. We've got a great defense, and so another off season of him developing and learning the system. I think he'll definitely be one of the guys to watch for the Heisman race next year. So I love those national predictions for both of us. We'll get to local later in the show. About 5:30, we'll go our 10 local predictions for 2025. We'll have a lot of Tigers and Grizzly predictions in there, so make sure you're tuned in at 5:30 for those
and
predictions.
Tiger football.
Yeah, that's right. So we will have a ton at 5:30. But let's go ahead and wrap up this first hour. And when we return, we're going to talk a whole lot of college football. Brent Beard from First Coast News down in Jacksonville. He joins us next.
Good afternoon. It's still pretty quiet right now on all the major outbound routes. We're expecting it to get a little bit busier probably the next 15, 20 minutes through the certain parts of the Midtown area. On 240 South over here at Lamar, as you continue south of Memphis, it's picked up just a bit more on 55 southbound through South Haven, all the way down through DeSoto County. Weimer's Jewelry serving the Memphis area now for over 40 years, no matter what the occasion is. Go by and see them. You'll save a lot of money by shopping local at Weimer's Jewelry. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
through the end of January, Family Leisure has got to get rid of all the 2024 inventory because all the new 2025 items are starting to arrive. All floor models are up to 50% off. You want a cold plunge tub? They start at $49.99. Go the other route with a hot tub. Get $3,000 off with free steps and chemicals. Family Leisure has pool tables, arcades, ping pong, air hockey, even baseball tables from 20 to 60% off. Want beers yet? Family Leisure has theaters sitting up to 75% off. Plus, now's the time to start thinking about pool seats. You can buy it now, get on the installation schedule, and be ready before everyone else. Special financing is also available. Hey, if you want to get free delivery on any of these items, you just tell the phone staff at Family Leisure that you heard this commercial. It's the floor model. So now, through the end of January, Family Leisure, 100 I-40, family and fun come together.
Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, and W253DF Memphis, with Dave Woloshin, weekday mornings from 10 to 11. Sports Time on Sports 56 and 95 FM. Once again, Brett Rosary and Brian Davis.
Welcome back into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you in our Family Leisure studios. And we had a couple Tuesdays off with Christmas and New Year's Eve, so it's been a while since we last spoke with Brent Beard. He joins us now from First Coast News in Jacksonville to talk some college football. Brent, I hope you and your family had a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. How are things going in Jacksonville?
Well, we did. And I will say that it was a delight and one of the highlights of the whole year to be able to visit with your cohort.
Yeah.
Last week in town, we solved all the world's problems, athletically and otherwise. So
that's awesome.
But it is. It's hard to believe we've got tremendous basketball tonight for the Florida Tennessee down the road and playoff games coming up, and the high today was 52 here, which is so this week we're basically having our 3 days of winter.
I think I brought it to you, Brent. Last week at on game night at the Gator Bowl, late in the game, I was officially cold, but it doesn't take a lot for me.
No.
Well, probably wasn't a Memphis cold, Brett, but it was for down here.
Well, it wasn't Coach Bryant's 76 Liberty Bowl against UCLA cold, but
yeah, absolutely not. But which is a good thing. But it certainly still was. But we're in a great time of year, and usually the playoffs. If we had the national championship game would probably have been last night if we would have stayed with the 4, and instead we've still got basically another roughly 2 weeks, which we're all kind of adjusting to the new schedule.
We'll sort it out for us, for our listeners, for the SEC. We really should. The two of us, we should send Greg Sankey a bill for all the things we cured last week in college football between us. But how do you think it fell out for the SEC this year? Just one in the Final Four.
Yeah, I mean, they still got 3 in, which means something. Tennessee didn't last long, obviously, but they lost to what might be the number 1 team in the nation, and then Georgia. And Kirby basically said this the whole year that we just don't have the depth, and I'll get into that in a minute, but obviously Texas is still alive, but some real doubt as far as will they go much further. They're capable of winning it all. They're capable of being home by I won't say by Saturday because their game's so close to Austin. And listen, I understand the weather's may have a real problem in that game. Is snow? I don't know if there's going to be ice involved. We'll have to wait with that. But to Brett's overarching question, getting back to the depth situation, I think what we've seen this year with the portal and the NIL is the depth that the league normally has probably wasn't there. In other words, we've had plenty of years where Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, pick a school, their second and third string guys could probably beat a lot of teams. But when you don't have those guys and you have injuries to your frontline players, a la Georgia, it can be a difficult year very quickly.
Yeah, it absolutely can. I've heard a lot. We haven't spoken with you over the last couple of weeks. I've heard a lot of reactions from the first two rounds of the college football playoffs. What were your reactions to the campus games in round one, and then what you saw in the quarterfinal matchups?
Well, I mean, the campus games were fun. But I've cautioned people we may not have but 2 years of campus games, and then those may either go away or that they will be at a bare minimum. I mean, I would have loved to have seen closer games like everybody else would have, but I mean, the reality is we've seen routes before in the postseason, and we'll continue to see that again. I mean, I still hope that they, and I don't know how much they're going to change next year. What you hear and read, it may not be much. I still think they should reseed them. But I've heard a lot more lately about, and Brett and I discussed this among 1,000 other things in Jacksonville, was there's too much time in between when you end the season and when you start the playoffs. And these teams, and look, I don't want to compare it to the NFL, but I wouldn't believe to say this years ago, but they've almost had too much time off. So that's been tossed about a little bit too.
Brent, I am worried about the future of the bowls, but I'm with you. I think after next year, and it wouldn't surprise me if they don't change the seating. When they sign a contract, they wrote it all the way out with the two-team BCS. They wrote it all the way out with the four-team. I think for a lot of reasons, not the least of which is lawyer billable hours are it's very expensive. Yeah. But I also think they don't want to change a semicolon because I don't know this for a fact, but I'm afraid they're scared to do anything because somewhere in that fine print that could kick open maybe a lessening in rights fees or a lower price for that, and they sure don't want less money because the TV ratings, while good, they haven't been great for these playoff games, and the on-campus games were bad, and they farmed those games out to a network that people were unfamiliar with. So they may not even change that. But in the future, I think that's going to be the end of campus, and that eight first-round games, they're going to incorporate bowls like the Gator Bowl, and especially when Jacksonville spends the billions of dollars they're going to spend, that includes a roof.
Yes. And that's one of the reasons that they're building that stadium, is to give people some relief, obviously from the heat. But Brett, something else you said that in this day and age that we can't ignore is, are they also concerned about making any changes just because of possible litigation? I mean that. I hate to bring that up, but in this day and time, and particularly the thing we're seeing now with some of the players, it makes you wonder where that is going to go also. Now, I mean, look, it's been fun with it spread out. It's been fun anticipating it. It's been fun having the championship game 10 days later. I mean, to me, free football is free football, but so I mean, as far as this first round is concerned, hopefully we'll get better games. But one thing that I did not expect was I didn't expect we'd see James Franklin at this point on the verge of being in the championship game.
Well, he's right there at it. He's at the Orange Bowl, waiting to play Notre Dame. That game is Thursday night, and then the Cotton Bowl is Friday night. I said that wrong earlier. I said Cotton Bowl Thursday. It is Friday night at AT&T Stadium. Brent, long before the tragic events that including the injury to his father that ultimately led to complications that led to his death, Kirby Smart said it didn't feel like a Sugar Bowl to him, that he had been going to Sugar Bowls as a part of staffs for a long time and then as head coach at Georgia and a long time, that it didn't feel like the Sugar Bowl experience. It just felt like a road game.
Yeah.
Does Thursday night, does it feel like the Orange Bowl's coming up to you and Friday night the Cotton Bowl's coming up to you? Or is it just the national semis?
No, it's just the national semifinals. I think basically everybody knows that it's the national semifinals. But if you stopped a bunch of cars on the interstate and asked them, "Can you tell us what two bowls are being played?" How many people would not know that? I think we'd probably be surprised how many people would know, well, we got games going on, but that's not really what, and we don't really know where it is. And I think to Kirby's point is there's no real, but there used to be finality. You'd play the Sugar Bowl, it would be a big deal. It would be the SEC's, basically the game where the champion went to, but we don't have that now, guys. At this point, it's just a continuation of the season.
But as far as the matchups go, we've seen a lot of Fiesta Bowls through the years that look like Penn State, Boise State. That could have been a Fiesta Bowl matchup from 20 years ago. Wouldn't have been 40 because Boise was playing as a junior college then. We've seen Ohio State and Oregon Rose Bowls. That was really Big Ten against the old pack. Notre Dame and Georgia, nothing new in the Sugar Bowl. Now, Peach Bowl being in that mix, and then having Arizona State and Texas, that one did feel different.
Yes, yeah, very much. Yeah. There's no doubt about that, and I think that's another thing is, are people taking, or are they going, or they go? What are they going to do with the buys? Or are they going to reseed it? I mean, there's some things they could do without upsetting the apple cart, and probably being maybe a little more fair with it in people's minds all the way about. And look, I'll be honest with you, I'm concerned about this. I'm just hoping we don't have some kind of, and it's awful that we have to think about this, but I'm just praying hard that we don't have some kind of a similar situation in some of these other places as we did in New Orleans.
Yeah, it's definitely something you got to think about. You mentioned a couple minutes ago about Texas in this game, the Cotton Bowl this weekend against Ohio State. In Dallas, or I guess Arlington, so it will be a lot of Texas fans, you got to assume. But when you look at how that game plays out, what kind of chance do you think Texas has of what would be an upset when you look at the betting lines, pulling this upset over Ohio State?
Well, they would have to have a lot of things go right. I think once, number one, congrats to them to get this 4, particularly in their first year. Quinn Ewers, how is he going to play? I mean, he has been inconsistent, and this team has been inconsistent. They've almost lost a couple of fourth quarter leads. 2. Now, they need to be able to run the ball a little bit. Their rushing attack, particularly with Quinn, the Wisner kid, if he can have a game, that will take a lot of pressure off of Ewers. I still think they need to get, they may not at this point, but get Arch in for a series, particularly if Ewers may be struggling a little bit. But people don't realize how good their defense is. This Colin Simmons is really good at defensive end. They're third in the nation in total defense. Texas is. But right now, guys, is just when you see Ohio State spreading the field and throwing the ball to Jeremiah Smith and this crew, I think people are just so fixated on them. I don't think a lot of people think Texas can win.
Yeah, we've been waiting though for a lot of the years, except for that relief duty that Arch Manning had to play as the starter after Quinn Ewers got hurt. But we've been waiting for kind of the Arch packages since really all year, and we really hadn't gotten them. Doesn't that maybe tell you that Steve Sarkisian sees him every day in practice, and he knows his best way to win is staying with Quinn Ewers?
Yeah, obviously it is, and I can understand that. I mean, when you've got Ewers and he's been a 3-year starter, I mean, he's got 66 touchdowns and 23 picks. That's a pretty good ratio. I would think so. And again, to Ewers' credit, I mean, in the previous game, look, when the game was on the line, my Stars guys, he made a couple of passes.
Clutch.
I'm not sure I saw a lot of that in the NFL that weekend. So Brett's right. It was incredible how good it was.
Brent, under the file of it, doesn't really feel like, I said Orange Bowl and Cotton Bowl. I'll just be really candid. It's big, it's glitzy, it's famous, it's perfect. I don't know that the Cotton Bowl has really felt like the Cotton Bowl since it left playing at the Cotton Bowl, and I don't know that the Orange Bowl has felt like the Orange Bowl since they quit playing at the Orange Bowl.
I would agree with that. I mean, we'll find the real loud Blazers still around in the press box, and they want to make you think it is, but that's a good point. I mean, for Bryant, in his generation, the shame of it is they did not see those two bowls when they were at the epitome of their success and their lore and their tradition and all that went along with that. I'm not saying they're still.
They both got too nice.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that's a good way of putting it.
The Sugar Bowl, even moving from Tulane Stadium to the Dome, it kept its identity. Now the Peach Bowl, it elevated, it got better going to the Georgia Dome and now MBS over playing at Atlanta Fulton County.
Yeah, I would agree with that. The job they have done there. I mean, my Stars, what a venue when you've got. And usually an incredible. I mean, you had Georgia Clemson, then you've got the SEC championship game, and then you've either got a semifinal game there, or like now a national championship game there. And look, Atlanta with all its problems is frankly an easy place to get to for a lot of people. Now, you can't. Once you get there, you can't drive because of the traffic. But that's a solid point that they have made that Mercedes-Benz Stadium the
focal
place
point
to play. Yeah, for championships. There's no doubt.
And that's Gary Stoken and a lot of people with Chick-fil-A and the College Football Hall of Fame that's done that. Our friend Brent Beard with us talking college football on the Sissy's Log Cabin guest line. And Brent, I've got an introduction to make. Kalen DeBoer, meet Ray Perkins.
Yeah. Well,
happened.
He's still. Kalen DeBoer won 9 games and should have won 10. But still, there are a lot of people who weren't happy with where that. Obviously, where the season went, their performance. Jalen Milroe's gone. That's I mean, you have to look at his career with some balance in that he beat Georgia, LSU, and Auburn twice. But frankly, there were games where he was just awful, and there's just no way to put it. And then there were other games where they played really well against Georgia and LSU, or at least Georgia in the first half. But no one's thinking that they have arrived and that there's not got to be a lot of improvement in the Alabama team next season.
If you took out the 4th and 31 play, and that's a big one, and it's not fair because that's a big moment in Iron Bowl history and in college football history. But if you took that out, I mean, he's just another guy in the history of Alabama quarterbacks.
Look, there's a lot of truth to that. I mean, now he had his opportunity.
I mean, he ain't John David Phillips, but he sure ain't Kenny Stabler.
No, but no stretch of imagination. And look, he had a real opportunity in the semifinals last year against Michigan to get him in the national championship game, and really just could not do anything there on the goal line. Oh yeah, and could have done, and really just kind of went into a shell against Tennessee in Knoxville. But look, there's no doubt about it. I mean, he struggled to read defenses. He struggled to get the ball to his receivers. Guys, he reminded me a lot of when Anthony Richardson was at Florida. And Richardson can throw it 70 yards, but he couldn't complete it on 4th and 7.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and maybe a blessing in disguise for Milroe to go to the NFL. I mean, you look at DeBoer, not his guy, and he can kind of move on and maybe get a guy that can fit the offense he wants to run now.
Oh, yeah. Well, Brian, here's the reality. Brett and I discussed this a few days ago. He'll go to the combines and he'll crush it.
Oh, yeah.
He'll run fast. He'll jump high. He'll do what he needs to do with all the agility drills, and he will. Look, he's a charming kid. Mm-hmm. He'll smile his way through the interviews, and somebody will fall in love with him. Yeah. And that's basically what happened to Richardson. But
great comparison.
I don't, guys. I don't care what. And Brian, I learned this from Brett a few decades ago. Is I don't care how athletic you are and how fast you can run. If you're a quarterback, if you can't read defenses and you're not accurate throwing the ball, you're just an average guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that 3-cone shuttle doesn't impress me if you can't see the free safety.
Absolutely not. No.
You know, it's just something fun to talk about.
Yep.
Brent, I don't know if you could get many to admit it. You sure couldn't as you got closer to the ones that really made the decision to hire Kalen DeBoer. But among the fan base, among the folks, you think there's any regret in not hiring Lane Kiffin over Kalen DeBoer?
Probably. Yeah, I think that would probably be fair to say. Now, obviously,
he would have worked wonders with Milroe.
Listen, he would have made Milroe another
number one pick.
I don't think there's any doubt about it. I would agree with that totally. But look, Lane is matured. To me, the thing Lane has done more than anything is he has embraced the defensive side of the ball, and bringing Golden in, who really didn't work in Alabama, but did work at Ole Miss. Now, I think in fairness to DeBoer, anybody who's going to follow Saban, it's just going to be hard. It's just going to be difficult. But they've got to go back to a lot more discipline than what they had this year. I think he'll have more of his players in. But again, what that means is in year 2, there really won't be any excuses. Mm-hmm. They're going to have to play much better than they did. But to your question, I don't think there's any doubt with that talent. What Lane could have done with it would have been amazing.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely would have been. Brent, we talked a little bit about Texas and Ohio State, the other semifinal game, Penn State and Notre Dame. How do you think that game plays out?
I think at this point, Notre Dame is playing really well, even after losing Riley Mills on the defensive line. Now, Bryant, you didn't see this. Brett and I did. But Notre Dame, politically and on the field, used to be a force. Now, this is the biggest game they've won in about 3 decades.
Yeah.
And I give Al Golden a lot of credit. The former Miami coach and defensive coordinator, he's done a good job.
Former Penn State tight end.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Now, Penn State, if Abdul Carter plays, he's hurt, that'll make a major difference. And speaking of what Brett was talking about, Tyler Warren, this Penn State tight end, it's just amazing. But listen, this, of all people, this expanding to 12 probably helped James Franklin as much as anybody. And if you get a good draw like he did, it even made it much more advantageous to him. So I would look. This is a big proven situation for him. I mean, for Franklin to be in the, and you could almost say the thing about Ryan Day, for those two guys to be in the national championship game after what they've gone through would certainly be a feather in their cap.
James Franklin is a win away from being in the finals after the 2 wins to get to this point being against SMU and Boise State.
Right. And we can't escape that. And we can't ignore that. I'm not sure.
He coached at a place where he was everybody's homecoming when he was at Vandy, and that's homecoming teams he beat.
Sure. There's no question about that. So I mean, it's going to be a fascinating matchup in a lot of ways. As far as I'll be curious what that's going to do. That's going to happen with TV ratings. I mean, Notre Dame allows 13 points a game. Penn State 15. What's that thing going to be? 10-7, fourth over?
Oh, man. Yeah.
First to 13 wins.
Honestly, it really could be.
Who are you for, Brent? I mean, tell us for rooting interest. Notre Dame, Penn State, Texas, Ohio State.
I mean, I'd love to see Texas win for the SEC, and I'm an SEC guy.
Me too.
And I will, and I'm free to admit that. I mean, to me, the Notre Dame Penn State game is almost a coin flip.
I think I'm for Notre Dame.
But I picked Notre Dame, and I think they will win with that too. And now I tell you this may surprise you, but we've got a lot of Ohio State fans and alumni down here in the Jacksonville area. So I know how excited they'll be. I'll tell you a little sidelight to this Ohio State-Texas game that hadn't been mentioned much. They actually opened the season next year playing each other again at Ohio State in August.
Wow.
So that'll be interesting as we talk about that throughout the summer.
Yeah, it will be, but hopefully we get 2 good games in the semifinals later this week. Brent, it's good to talk to you after missing you a couple of weeks. Enjoy the weekend, and we'll do it again next Tuesday.
I'll leave you with this. I had a great chuckle over this. Our friend Phil Steele of the magazine had a text today that said, "We're only 150 days until the magazine goes to press."
I love it.
Bless his heart.
I love it. Always looking to the next magazine.
And he prints it in hieroglyphics.
He sure does.
Listen, if I read through it, I'd have to have my glasses changed.
Yes, you would.
Oh, man. Brent, absolutely a blast in Jacksonville. Tell all the great folks at the Gator Bowl how much fun we had.
Tremendous. It will, and I will do that. And it was just one of those wonderful times, Brian. I wish you'd have been there too. Yeah. We both praised and raved about you and what
sure did.
You've done.
Thank you.
But look, Brett and I actually had several hours of where we didn't have to do something or be on the air or whatever, and it was a thrill to say the least. So
and then when we got bored, we got more food.
Oh yeah,
How you
yeah. Yeah, and it just an endless supply of food and games.
That's how it's done.
Thank you, Brother Brent.
Tearing up the town. Thanks, Brent.
My pleasure, guys. Take care.
You got it, man.
Brent Beard joining us from First Coast
And great
News.
point about opening day next year.
Yeah.
Texas goes to Columbus.
That's crazy. That's
I'd
crazy.
forgotten about
Yeah,
that. That's
I
a
did
great
too.
point from Brent.
That's awesome. Yeah, so hopefully it's a great game, and the winner advances, and the loser they'll be looking for revenge next year to open the season. So that will be a lot of fun. Only a couple days away from when we start these semifinal games on Thursday. Well, let's get to another break, and when we come back, we're talking Tigers. Matt Infield from Action News 5. He joins us next.
We are real sports talk. Sports 56 WHBQ. Available on your radio dial at 560 AM and 98.5 FM, as well as around the world online at sports56whbq.com. Take us with you everywhere by downloading the Sports 56 app. And at home, just say, Alexa, play Sports 56. Sports 56.
Since 1948, in the alley, the Rendezvous. I'm with John Burgess. John, what's going on in the Rendezvous?
Brett, after 76 years, we've decided to expand our product line. Anyone who's tasted our ribs is familiar with our vinegar base. It's now available in the 32-ounce jar. It's so good the base will marinate all meats. I even put a little bit on turnip greens. Something we've been using at the restaurant or at our house has been the Greek seasoning. My father was a cook, but my mother was a chef. And she was the one that put Greek seasoning on everything from the Mediterranean diet to steak. My mom used it on soup, salad, veggies, fish, any meat. It's a great seasoning and a flavor enhancer. My brother Nick figured out salt and pepper is more than just McCormick's and Morton's. He's come up with the perfect blend we use to coat our shoulders and our brisket, and he used to make it for his friends as Christmas gifts, and they loved it. All these products are available at Rendezvous or online for shipping as gifts and in many grocery stores. And if they're not in your favorite grocery store, ask your grocer to stock it.
A beloved family of charities still going strong since 1948. The Rendezvous.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues? Who are you? Your pancreas. I can be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
Tiger fans, don't miss the action when Memphis men's basketball welcomes East Carolina to FedEx Forum Saturday, January 11th. The Tigers will tip off against the Pirates in an American Conference matchup at 1 o'clock as we celebrate Kids Day with face painters, balloon artists, and a halftime baby race. It's time to stand up, Memphis, and support your Tigers at FedEx Forum in a big-time matchup that you do not want to miss. Memphis and East Carolina, Saturday, January 11th at 1 o'clock. Get your tickets now at GoTigersGo.com.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good afternoon. Let's try to pick up a little bit more volume over here on 240 east and westbound around Mill Branch, especially eastbound as you head on out towards 385. As you get on to Bill Morris Parkway, headed out towards Collierville. That's been in pretty good shape so far. Hey, Weimer's Jewelry, 7525 Highway 64. They want you to know they are your full-service, family-owned jewelry store right here in Memphis. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Welcome back into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you, and joining us now to talk some Tigers, Matt Infield from Action News 5 joins us now. Matt, thanks so much for joining us. Hope you had a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Certainly a happy holiday season for the Tiger basketball team. They continue to win following the loss against Mississippi State, a win at home against Ole Miss, and then back-to-back wins to start AAC play. What have you seen from the Tigers over these last 3 games?
Yeah, I think obviously the wake-up call from the Mississippi State game, and Penny talked about how he got them in on Christmas night, and he ran them to send a message, and clearly it's worked so far. And, two of those games, obviously, really, really dominant wins. I think, obviously, a couple of those games are really easy to get up for. I think maybe all three. Ole Miss, obviously, you've got the regional rivalry aspect of it. FAU, even if it's not the same FAU team, no Dusty May, no John Davis, all those guys from last year's couple teams, still kind of a rivalry the last couple of years. That's the easy game to get up for. And then North Texas, obviously, this year has been kind of the best of the rest in the American. But, they take care of business. And obviously, North Texas win wasn't always pretty at times, but they found different ways to win. They found different contributors. I think in the Sunday game, you saw that having, a superstar, I'll call him a superstar level scorer, PJ Haggerty, that could kind of put you on his back on a day where maybe you need him to is really valuable. So, yeah, last obviously Mississippi State loss was bad, but since then it's been all good, and he took care of business in what could be two toughest conference games of the year. Obviously, there's still a lot of story left to be written in the American this year, but you knocked off two of the tougher tests pretty early on.
Matt, Happy New Year. So glad to have you with us, and
Yep,
we've enjoyed it all year. And when we first had you on starting football, we said all the way through to the Final Four. I don't know if the Tigers get to the Final Four, but it looks more promising now than when I said that in August.
Yeah, I think that they're good enough to where if they get in the tournament, I mean, we've seen teams worse than this, by far worse than this in the regular season, make the Final Four. The aforementioned FAU team from a couple of years ago, San Diego State, who was in that national championship game. I don't think anyone had NC State making the Final Four this time last year. Even though they had. Yeah, so I mean, it's certainly it's such a random. It is the most kind of random tournament in all sports, in my opinion, where truly anything can happen. And obviously, I think once you get down to the end, usually we have a champion that we look up and say, yeah, they were one of the best this year or the best this year, and they deserve to win it all. I mean, obviously, the national championship game last year was, I think, pretty easily the two best teams for most of the season, UConn, Purdue. But, yeah, I think this Tigers team is certainly good enough and kind of has the recipe as well. We talk all the time about how really elite guard play a lot of times can carry you in the NCAA tournament. That's probably the first and foremost thing that you want. And they have, as we've talked about a bunch of times, they have arguably the best trio of guards in the entire country. The aforementioned PJ Haggerty, Tyrese Hunter, and Colby Rogers. So, yeah, I'm with you. Like, predict them to go to the Final Four is probably, I mean, who knows? But it's not out of the realm of possibility whatsoever. I agree.
And a lot of factors, certainly, but for the Tiger bigs and the Tigers limited bench, when you get into the NCAA tournament, are you going to have a whistle-happy referee? Are you going to have a referee that lets it play? And if you have one that really let it mix up and you don't eliminate Danger and Musa, the Tigers could be formidable in that tournament. That's down the road. Let's look back a little bit. And it could be the same thing. I say the best win of the year is against UConn in Maui. I say the Tigers' best played game of the year was against Ole Miss. Give me your best win. Give me your best play, and it could be the same. What do you think it is?
Best win of the year. I would say I would agree UConn just because how they won the game, going to overtime, not having PJ Haggerty, and still gutting it out even after they gave up that, 13-point lead with 3.5 minutes left. Yeah, I would say UConn on that end, and then I would also say probably honorable mention Clemson, because that was a just phenomenal basketball game. And to go on the road and win that game was really, really impressive and kind of telling to me as well, especially I believe that was coming off the Arkansas State game. So that's up there. And then, Ole Miss, obviously, like we talked about, the regional rivalry and coming home and really just kind of dominated them for essentially 40 minutes. I think those are three that come to mind right away, but I would agree I would give the slight edge to UConn over the rest.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. We've been talking pretty much ever since the start of the season about Penny Hardaway maybe making that in-season addition to the roster, and we finally got it the day before the Ole Miss game. It was reported Dante Harris, who was at Virginia, had transferred to Memphis. He had been with the team for about a week before that Ole Miss game. He played in those two games. Ole Miss and FAU missed last game with a minor injury. What did you think of that addition, and what have you seen from him kind of giving them some more depth to that guard room?
Yeah, I talked with Petty when we were shooting the show, the TV show, I think last week. I kind of just asked, what he brought. Petty basically told me, essentially, he's a really good defender, and he can handle the ball a little bit. So kind of maybe a little more offensively minded Baraka Okoji. I don't know if he could shoot all that well. That remains to be seen. But, I think that we've talked about kind of their limited bench and the limited rotation, which is fine because, obviously the guys that are playing at such a high level for the most part that in a lot of these games you could get away with it. It just becomes an issue where guys get hurt, guys get banged up, and obviously we've heard a lot about Haggerty and Hunter having these little nicks and bruises, and Hunter maybe a little bit worse for wear. Obviously he's not playing like it for the most part, but I think having another guard there that if either of those guys were forced to miss any time could at least hold down the fort to a certain degree as far as being a facilitator and setting up the offense is pretty important. I would have liked, stats it up before. I kind of would have liked to see them get a big just because you basically have a 3-big rotation right now in Musa, Deja, and Jourdain. Probably my biggest beef with the team this season, I say it's a very minor thing. Feels like Dane and Musa especially find themselves in foul trouble way too often, and a lot of times with silly fouls, and then they get stretched pretty thin. But that's a very, very minor beef. But overall, I think adding another guard and someone who can at least set up the offense and give you something on the defensive end is positive.
And get a little rest, and that might stem some of the turnover problems they've had lately, because the Tigers started the year out not turning the ball over anything like they are now. They would not have had that 2-1 in Maui turning the ball over like they have been lately.
No, for sure. It's kind of a double-edged sword because, we know Petty, kind of the core of what Petty wants as a coach is he wants his guys to defend like crazy and force turnovers, get stops, and then run off of that. The problem with that is that when you play at a more frenetic pace, kind of similar, honestly, to what we see with the Grizzlies right now to a certain extent, is when you play at that pace, obviously you're going to turn the ball over more as well. So, yeah, I do think that's something that, you want to see them get cleaned up. I don't know if it's going to cost them too much in the AAC, in the regular season at least, but certainly come tournament time, that can really bite you, especially in, a one-game do-or-die six-game tournament where, if you have one off night, you're going home. So, yeah, you definitely want to see that cleaned up.
Going back to the front court play, I mean, Dane Danger, Moussa Cisse, they've played really well this season, but one of the concerns, I would say, really for this team, certainly for the front court, has been the offensive rebounds they've allowed from other teams. It hasn't really been an issue yet, certainly against FAU, when FAU grabbed 19 offensive rebounds. It wasn't a problem. It almost became a big problem in that game against North Texas, with North Texas getting a couple of offensive rebounds late in that game to really keep it close. What have you seen with this team in terms of how they're rebounding right now?
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of times, too, it feels like it's not just the bigs because they kind of naturally play small just because, I mean, Colby Rogers is essentially their 3-man, and he's going to be smaller than a lot, if not every 3 he plays against. So, and then obviously, Musa, teams will try to drag Musa, especially out on the perimeter, make him guard in space. So I think it's kind of a Steve thing. I also think that, Petty said postgame on Sunday that the physicality that those bigs on North Texas brought was a little bit of a wake-up call for both Deja and Cisse. And, Deja especially, too, is, you want him out there mainly. He's there to score the ball, and he's there to take advantage of mismatches in post and put the ball in the bucket. But Musa, for sure, you definitely want to see him kind of impose his will a little bit more down low and not give up some of those offensive rebounds when he is underneath the basket. Like I said, teams are going to try to drag him away from the rim to negate his effect as a shot blocker. So, and Jourdain plays a role in that as well, because I remember a couple plays from Sunday where Jourdain had a chance to box out and did it. So, yeah, I'm sure that's kind of one of those little details that coaching staff, I know that this coaching staff this year is very big on kind of the non-negotiables they're calling it, boxing out, hitting guys on the way in and whatnot. So I'm sure that'll be addressed this week.
Mm-hmm. Last thing for you real quick before we let you go on the football side, Ryan Silverfield, we knew he had a lot of spots to fill via the transfer portal. He's been getting a lot of guys to commit right now on Rivals, the number 3 transfer portal class in the country. What have you seen with Ryan Silverfield working the portal?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these guys are kind of unknown to an extent until we actually get them here, but there's going to be some that draw some excitement. And, obviously right away, I'm drawn to, the impending, I think, quarterback battle that we're going to see in camp between Brent Lewis, the transfer from Nevada that they brought in, who's an experienced guy, maybe not a ton of production, but an intriguing kind of dual threat skill set. And then Antoine Hill Jr. and maybe Arrington Maiden, the 2 young guys, and who kind of wins out that battle. Because I think it's, the addition of Lewis is kind of, to me, the perfect middle ground of, all right, we've got a veteran guy who can start week 1, and he's got enough experience to where he could be productive, but he's not such a high-profile name that he's going to walk in the door expecting to be given the starting job, and all of a sudden your young guys are ticked off, maybe looking for other opportunities and whatnot. So that's what obviously I think we're all going to be watching. Who's going to be the week 1 starter, and it's going to be a battle of kind of potential and youth versus experience, and I'm excited to see how that plays out.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun battle all throughout spring and fall camp. But as always, Matt, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll talk to you again next week.
Yes, sir, fellas. Talk to you guys next Tuesday. All right, have a good one.
Thanks, Matt. Matt Infield joining us from Action News 5. Talk some Tiger football and Tiger basketball with the basketball team. Like we mentioned, back-to-back wins to start conference play. They get a nice little week off before returning to action Saturday morning. Well, let's go ahead and get to another break, and when we come back, it'll be time for Big Number of the Day.
Fall is football at the Owner's Box Sports Bar and Grill in Lakeland, Town Square. Monday through Friday is happy hour from 3 to 6. $1 off all travel meals, $5 off oil drinks, $4.50 for house wine, and mozzarella sticks, queso, $4 a day. Friday night ice cream, 7 Club, dining in Montreal, Wednesday, 5 Raiders, free. Watch college football every pro game. All in the Owner's Box Sports Bar and Grill in Lakeland, Highway 70. Fall is football.
The new year means new health goals, not just for your body, but your finances. But did you know financial health is directly related to identity protection? You need LifeLock because your personal info is in endless places that are outside of your control. And it only takes one mistake, and not even your mistake, to expose you to identity theft and lost funds. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points per second and alerts you to threats you could miss on your own. If your identity is stolen, LifeLock's U.S.-based restoration specialists, they're going to fix it, backed by the $1 Million Protection Package. In fact, restoration's guaranteed or your subscription money back. Don't face drained accounts, fraudulent loans, or other financial losses from identity theft alone. Resolve to make identity health and wealth part of your New Year's goals with LifeLock. Go to LifeLock.com. Save up to 40% on your first year if you use the promo code HERD. 40% off. HERD at LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
The Family Leisure floor model sale is happening right now through the end of January. Family Leisure has got to get rid of all the 2024 inventory because all the new 2025 items are starting to arrive. All floor models are up to 50% off. You want a cold plunge tub? They start at $49.99. Go the other route with a hot tub. Get $3,000 off with free steps and chemicals. Family Leisure has pool tables, arcades, ping pong, air hockey, even baseball tables from 20 to 60% off. Want beer seating? Family Leisure has theater seating up to 75% off. Plus, now's the time to start thinking about pool seats. You can buy it now, get on the installation schedule, and be ready before everyone else. Special financing is also available. Hey, if you want to get free delivery on any of these items, you just tell the phone staff at Family Leisure that you heard this commercial. It's the floor model sale now through the end of January. Family Leisure, we can run it
dairy in Texas. Tito's is 6 times distilled till it's just right and naturally gluten-free, making it a high-quality spirit that mixes with just about everything. From the smoothest martinis to the best Bloody Marys, beyond the bottle, Tito's has gained a reputation for giving back, teaming up with nonprofits around the world to serve its community and do good for dogs. Make your next cocktail with Tito's and learn more at Tito'sVodka.com. 40% alcohol by volume, mainly 80 proof, crafted to be savored responsibly.
Sports 56 traffic.
They're working a crash over here on 240 westbound, just past Mill Branch. That's why it's been a little bit slow between Airwaves and Mill Branch on 240 going westbound. Of course, the heaviest flow of traffic normally, and this time of the afternoon is going eastbound on this side of town, headed out towards 385 as you get onto Bill Morris Parkway, continuing out towards Collierville. That's only going to get busier. Hey, make a difference by adopting a pet at the Humane Society of Memphis, Shelby County. Check out the animals that are up for adoption by logging on to memphishumane.org. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Big Daddy.
Hello, Big Brand. It's a guy, he wants to be big, then he gets big, he doesn't want to be big anymore, then he gets small, but the suit's too big.
Big Daddy.
The big boy. You're a big guy. I think she's trying to pull a fast one on Big Daddy.
The big number of the day.
Well, my big number today is the number 15. Last night was an interesting night in the NBA because 4 NBA teams came back from 15-point deficits to win in front of their home fans last night. The Detroit Pistons trailed by 22 points, came back and won. The Chicago Bulls trailed by 19. The Timberwolves trailed by 19. And the Sacramento Kings trailed by 17. That is the most 15-point home comeback wins on the same day in the last 25 seasons.
That's a whole edition of bad beats, isn't it?
It sure is. I mean, imagine having one of those teams, they're up by more than
Money
15.
line,
yeah, especially in that Pistons game. You're up 22 points.
Counting your cash.
I mean, you are automatically counting it, and then here comes the comeback.
All right, what Scott Van Pelt has done with Stanford Steve on bad beats, it's phenomenal.
Yes.
But why every one of those is not a loss? Somebody
That's
won
right.
on that.
Yes, it's a great win for somebody.
It is. And kind of the pain of agony of defeat, calling it a bad beat.
Sure.
But for every loser out there was somebody
There's
that
a winner.
cashed in.
Yeah, so the flip
Just like
side
last
of the
night
coin.
on those in the NBA. My big number, it could be 2. It could be the year 2003, or it could be 21 seasons ago. That was the year that David Cutcliffe and Eli Manning, the quarterback head coach combo, went 10-3 at Ole Miss. And that was the last time that Ole Miss in a year won more games than Alabama and Auburn until this year. With the 10th win, Alabama only came in at 9, Auburn only at 5. Ole Miss won more games this year than Alabama and Auburn. First time for them to do that in 21 years.
Wow. And big offseason for both those programs, Alabama and Auburn, because
it is, and it's a little bit of my perspective theme. I'm like every other Ole Miss fan. I mean, heartbroken.
Oh, yeah.
Close to despondent after close as I get to despondent over sports.
Yes.
After our loss, because I don't really control that. I try to save my despondency for things I control. But I was there. But on the night that Elijah Moore had the unsportsmanlike conduct penalty for hiking his leg, and then the penalty that kicked the extra point back and the kicker missed it, don't go to overtime. I don't know what would happen in overtime. Might have been more heartbroken in overtime. I don't know what would happen. But if you'd have told any Ole Miss fan that night that 5 years later, Lane Kiffin's going to have won 44 games, be 3-2 in bowls, 4-1 against State. The last 2 years be 21-5. The last 4 years win 39 games. and he's going to be starting his 6th year next fall.
No, man.
I have a little perspective.
Yes.
I know it was playoffs or bust, but it really wasn't or bust because winning 10 games ain't bust at Ole Miss.
No.
It's not many places. This year, Alabama would have liked to have won 10.
Sure. No, I mean, they would have loved to win 10. And
LSU would have liked to have won 10.
Yeah. I mean, there are a lot of people down in Tuscaloosa who are very upset with how the season played out. And, that's just kind of the level that they expect. And it's different at every single place.
See, I think the Alabama year puts even more pressure on Freeze next year because all those Auburn people that were waiting forever, get Nick Saban off the scene, get him out of our face. Well, he's gone.
Yeah,
and you're still you lost this year. You lost one year, lost to his successor. It's time next year to make up ground.
Oh, yeah. No, that's a really
and
good
if you
point.
can't make it up, we can't dig any deeper with you.
Yeah, because, I mean, for such a long time, it was, hey, this rivalry is massive, but, they have Nick Saban. There's nothing you can do about it.
Best ever.
Exactly, best ever. Now they don't, and you've got to, if you're Auburn, you got to capitalize.
You better make
on
up ground.
Yes, you better start winning some of these games, and at least so far, 1 year down.
Winning some games, winning a bowl. Went last year with one of the worst efforts you'll ever see, and the excuse was, well, I'm worried about recruiting. We didn't go to one this year. And I think Auburn's a little overselling the recruiting and then wasn't helped by, did you see, and we will do one soon. We're going to at least let these playoffs in.
Yeah.
Andy Staples, way too early, had Auburn in the playoffs for next year.
All right, Brett, look, I love a good way too early.
I do too.
You got to wait till the season before is over. I mean, we cannot do a way
Kinda,
too early
yeah.
before we've crowned a champion, I think, at least.
I mean, that's way, way, way too early when we haven't even finished this year.
Exactly. The year's not even over.
We'll at least wait till the 21st, won't we?
Yeah, I would hope. So that means that I guess he had Auburn in his way too early.
He did, and as I've told everybody in the Iron Bowl world, that don't worry about it because he's never right.
Yeah. Ooh, man. Yeah, you kind of double-crossed. You put it out before the championship game, and then you have Auburn in there. It's bold on a lot of different levels.
I mean, you kind of need to know who your quarterback's going to be, don't you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and that's still a big question for them, but we'll see how it all plays out. A big offseason for both Alabama and Auburn, and certainly for Auburn with all the promises of the recruits. You got to have some answers at some point. But let's go ahead and get to another break. When we come back, we got to talk NFL. So much going on. Wild Card Weekend gets started in just a couple of days. We also have a lot of coaches in and out, interviews being set up, speculation for where a lot of these teams will go for their next head coach. And the teams not in the playoffs, they're starting to turn their attention to the NFL draft. We'll talk a whole lot of NFL with Bo Marchant. He joins us next.
Hungry for that delicious smash burger flavor? Dyer's Cafe is the original smash burger since 1912 and still smashing burgers in Collier's historic town square. Come out for the lunch specials Monday through Friday, 11 to 2. Ask about the world-famous split dog and authentic Chicago or New York dog. Try the leaner side of Dyer's with a grilled chicken sandwich or freshly made salad. Also serving lakes, Delta-raised catfish, Pasquale's tamales, and a customer favorite, hand-breaded onion rings. Dyer's, serving world-famous burgers, dogs, and shakes in Collier's historic town square.
The Family Leisure floor model sales happening right now through the end of January. Family Leisure has got to get rid of all the 2024 inventory because all the new 2025 items are starting to arrive. All floor models are up to 50% off. Go on a cold plunge tub? They start at $49.99. Go the other route with a hot tub. Get $3,000 off with free steps and chemicals. Family Leisure has pool tables, arcades, ping pong, air hockey, even baseball tables from 20 to 60% off. Want beer seating? Family Leisure has theater seating up to 75% off. Plus, now's the time to start thinking about pool season. You can buy it now, get on the installation schedule, and be ready before everyone else. Special financing is also available. Hey, if you want to get free delivery on any of these items, you just tell the phone staff at Family Leisure that you heard this commercial. It's the floor model show. Now, through the end of January, Family Leisure, we run it I-40. Family and fun come together.
Tito's handmade vodka is America's favorite vodka for a reason. From the first legal distillery in Texas, Tito's is 6 times distilled till it's just right and naturally gluten-free, making it a high-quality spirit that mixes with just about everything. From the smoothest martinis to the best Bloody Marys, beyond the bottle, Tito's has gained a reputation for giving back, teaming up with nonprofits around the world to serve its community and do good for dogs. Make your next cocktail with Tito's and learn more at Tito'sVodka.com. 40% alcohol by volume, mainly 80 proof, crafted to be savored responsibly.
You know, I think people forget there's a Central Barbecue location in South Haven.
And that's on us.
Well, you.
What does that mean?
Well, you're the spokesperson for Central Barbecue. It's your responsibility to remind people there's a Central Barbecue in South Haven.
It's very convenient that I'm the spokesperson when there's responsibility to be taken.
Just mention the Central Barbecue location in South Haven.
I got a lot to remember. There's the location on Butler downtown. There's a location on Summer, on Poplar.
And Getwell Road in South Haven. How hard is that?
I've heard you call yourself a spokesperson for Central Barbecue.
No, it was just to pick up chicks.
Nestled in the heart of East Memphis, located corner of Park and Cherry, is a beautiful residential neighborhood. I'm here at Town Village Audubon Park interviewing a new resident, Carolyn. Share with us why you chose Town Village.
Well, if your parents or special friends need to make that big move, let me share with you my experience. It was tough for me to leave home, but then I discovered Town Village. I would like to highly recommend Town Village to you and your loved ones. But after looking at all the amenities and meeting all the people and staff, I was hooked. From restaurant, bistro, 3 meals per day, housekeeping, transportation, security, health care, physical therapy, exercise room, and even a heated pool and spa. Come see us and make your new home in Town Village.
Visit us and call Daniel at Town Village Audubon Park at 901-374-7342.
There's no place like home, Town Village.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good afternoon. Wrapping up the paperwork on this crash over here on 240 westbound, just past Mill Branch. It's had traffic a little bit slow between Airways and Mill Branch on 240 going westbound. Yes, it's picked up with more volume going eastbound over here on this side of town as you continue out towards 385 Bill Morris Parkway. Weiber's Jewelry, 7525 Highway 64 is your full-service family-owned jewelry store right here in Memphis. Go by and see them. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studios, we are Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, and W253DF Memphis. Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour brought to you by Jaguar Land Rover Club Safety. Once again,
Say you stand by your man. Tell me something.
Welcome back into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you as we start our 5 o'clock hour. And a lot going on in the NFL. It's been a couple of weeks since we last caught up with Bo Marchant, so let's not waste any time. Let's talk some NFL with Bo Marchant.
National Football League talk every Tuesday with Bo Marchant, covering the NFL Draft at collegetopro.com and the NFL Draft Bible, covering the Steelers for Sports Illustrated, living and running in Eastern Ohio, and on Twitter X at Bo Marchant. Here's Bo with Bryant and Brett.
Bo Marchant joins us now to talk the NFL like he does every single week. And Bo, I hope you and your family had a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. We haven't caught up with you since before the holiday season, but so much going on in the NFL. I don't know where to start, so I guess I'll start with what the playoff bracket looks like and these wild card matchups. What sticks out to you when you look at the matchups we've got this weekend?
For me, I like the intrigue of, I don't know if there's any guarantees. I look at the upcoming games, and, I do think the Ravens will walk away victorious over the Steelers, but it's not a slam dunk. I just don't think if you give me any result where the underdog, exceeds expectations and comes out victorious, then I wouldn't be surprised. And that goes from the Chargers going to Houston to the Rams hosting the 14-3 Vikings. I wouldn't be surprised by any of it, and I think that's the fun part of it. Where to me, I think all these teams look great, but they all have weaknesses, and that's the parity of the NFL. And we have the Chiefs and the Lions sitting home awaiting their fate as the second week will come, after this weekend. So,
are we that sure the two teams sitting at home that they will be in New Orleans?
I'm not convinced of it, Brett. I think me, I haven't been on the Chiefs side all season, so I'm not anticipating them making a three-peat. I do think when the things are going well, and they have the best or the second best record in the league, the Lions. I think top to bottom, despite some of the injuries, they're the best team, and I love the mojo and the way Campbell kind of brings it. And I think he works to his advantage of he knows he has a better team and he can take those risks, and that will eventually fade as the team, and we're not talking now, but, nobody can remain that good for that long, and you take those gambles and you come out on the right side of it. But he calls the right game, and the team believes because they're that much better than, I think, most of their opponents. So, but I think Philadelphia is going to be, they're going to have their say. I think they're going to be right there. And, Tampa, Tampa's a team where if you told me Washington goes to Tampa and wins, I'm not going to be surprised. But if you told me that Tampa could find themselves, in the NFC champ. They're just that scrappy team. Nobody's giving them any love all season long, and and they're just sneaky. They're under the radar. They, I call it house money. I think a lot of these teams, even the Broncos, going to Buffalo. Last year Russell Wilson and the Broncos go to Buffalo and win the game. So I think Sean Payton and he has that team believing, and it's another game where do I think Buffalo's going to win? Absolutely. But at the end of the day, do I think that Denver could pull it off? I wouldn't be surprised. And again, as I mentioned at the top of the program, I kind of feel that way throughout most of these games where I think, next Tuesday when we discuss the results, I'm not going to be surprised by any upsets or any of the favorites winning.
Who's the coach with the most pressure on him to deliver something in these playoffs? We know it's not Jim Harbaugh. We know it's not John Harbaugh. It's not. It's not. It's not in Houston right now. There's not that much pressure. There's not any pressure on Mike Tomlin. But who is it on? Who's the guy that really needs to back a lot of people off with a great Super Bowl tournament run?
You know what? Well, I think Sean McDermott, just because the Bills have had such a great season, and we know, Josh Allen is in MVP position. But I think Nick Sirianni, and I think Tomlin. Going 10-7, it's great. Most franchises would relish, but Steelers fans are frustrated, and they're tired of just having a winning season. They lose their last four, so the momentum's there. I think AFC champion. They're not going to fire Mike Tomlin. But I just think to kind of resonate some foundation in terms of where's this thing headed in Pittsburgh, I think they got to go to Baltimore and win, and I even think that would come up short. I think an AFC championship is kind of, the ultimate goal there. The Super Bowl is the ultimate goal, but I think just to say, hey, we did something. I just think the Steeler fan base is just tired of 10-7, 9-8. Oh, we'll talk about he hasn't had a losing record since their Super Bowl loss against Green Bay. I believe he's 3-8 in the playoffs, and he's missed the playoffs 5 seasons. So, if you take that away, that's not something. You can say winning, but again, I talk about the the greatest programs in college football. You're not going to get by on that. You got to deliver. So I do think it's Tomlin followed by Sirianni, and then McDermott, just because of the way the Bills have played so well this year.
Both through all these years of you being so kind to give us your time, and we've talked and compared and contrasted, we often have come back to the St. Louis baseball Cardinals and the Steelers kind of being a lot alike. With they don't make a lot of hasty head coaching managerial moves for the Cardinals until they start doing that like the Cardinals did, and along those comparisons, Cardinal fans sit there for years, win 90 games, 95 games, go to the playoffs, and then it bottomed out. Is that what Steeler fans are scared of? The next step's going to be not a Super Bowl, but a bottoming out.
It could be, and the brilliance of Tomlin is he is a great coach. He's a great motivator. Guys want to play hard for him. I think his biggest, and it's not his own, it's his success that, those rosters that he's had over the last decade are not good teams, but he's made them good teams. And, if you're a fan, you believe, hey, we're going to the Super Bowl and we're going to do this. And, they play like that most of the time. And that gives that false belief where, hey, this team's better than it is. And you can't argue his success, but I think his success also, it hurts him in terms of, I don't really think the record matches the product. It's him out-coaching what he has on the roster. And when you come to these teams that are more talented, that's where, you really gotta, that's where the frustration from the fan base begins. I think if you look at most of these teams, look at Washington. Nobody expected Dan Quinn and Jane and Daniels and all these guys to have this type of success. So it's happy. I put it this way. I think if you look at every playoff team in the fan base, I think the most frustrated team going into the playoffs is Steeler fans. They held the AFC North, the lead basically entire season. They lose to Baltimore. They go on a 4-game skid, and, they back themselves into the playoffs. So, I think if you're a Chargers fan, you're happy. You got rid of Staley. Harbaugh comes in. D'Amico Ryan's second season, another title. Harbaugh got the Ravens there. Sean Payton, Buffalo. You go through it. Green Bay, Sirianni, Daniels and Quinn, Tampa. And, you got the Monday night game with, O'Connell and McVay. I think they're all happy. I think Steeler fan base is frustrated, and I think of all the teams that made it, they're the one franchise where, it's, okay, fine, we made the playoffs. It's going to be a wild card exit first round, and then what do we do next year? We go back to the same problems that we faced heading into this season. What are we going to do at quarterback? Where do we go? So, but winning cures all ills, and if Tomlin can get on a little roll and win a couple playoff games, get that AFC Championship game, I think that will just kind of simmer the frustration of that Steeler fan base that currently I think exists.
You mentioned the Eagles. What did you make of their decision to rest Saquon Barkley when he was so close to the rushing record?
I think they probably had a discussion with Saquon, and he seemed cool with it. So, I applaud all sides. You rested him, and the big goal, and I applaud Barkley. It's great to have his statistics, but, if something happens and he gets hurt and he misses the playoffs, it's such a detrimental loss. You're talking free agents this signing. I don't think there was any bigger impact than Barkley going to Philadelphia. So I thought it was a good move. And we could go back to the days where they played 12 games, the 14, the 16, and now they're at 17, where, that 2001-05 or whatever Dickerson's record is, I would always look at that. But you could argue that seasons before that, when there were shorter games, you could argue that Jim Brown and et cetera had these records. So I don't mind it. I kind of applaud it that, it's not just a stat hunt. I think at the end of the day, if he can walk out of Philadelphia with a ring, that's better than any single season record that you could ask for.
Of the two trades, A.J. Brown from Tennessee to Philadelphia or Saquon Barkley, New York Giants to Philadelphia, which one was the dumbest? Or the best deal for the Eagles?
I think they both kind of – I think you got to have one and then go with the other. On draft night when the Eagles made that move with Tennessee to acquire A.J. Brown, it brought life to that offense, and then they draft Smith, and you get Jalen Hurts. So I think you really have a dynamic duo. And then they were able to sign those guys. And then, I think for Barkley and the Giants, I think Barkley deep down, would he have wanted to stay in New York? Yeah, that's where he was drafted. But at the end of the day, listen, Barkley with the Giants this year would have not made a difference. We all know that. We could talk about the symbolic meaning of, they let him go. But I think in the end, the Eagles made the right move. I think Barkley has to be thrilled that he's on such a successful team after, battling on some ugly New York Giants teams that was going nowhere. And they're kind of, what are they going to do next year? I don't think anyone thinks the Giants are going to be a force in the NFC East, let alone, the league. So I think Barkley and all this moves, but I think it's a domino effect where I think the Eagles and Housey Roseman, the GM, he made the right move by acquiring Brown, giving that offense an elite target at the receiver position. And we know, he can be a diva sometimes, but, the receivers in the league, they're all divas. And then you bring in a guy like Barkley, and, he's just been dynamic, and it's a fun team. And they're the one team that I look at. I think the Lions are the number one team, but I think the Eagles are two, in my opinion, overall. I think when it goes down, and who knows how it goes, they got to make it that far. But as we talk each week, as these weeks dwindle down to the finals and the Super Bowl is on the horizon, I'm going to be very strict-minded, at least right now, to think that Philadelphia and Detroit are the two teams. I think the winner comes out of the NFC. Put it that way. I think they just play a tougher brand of football, and I just like the way that they have a solid running games, and I just think they can make the magic happen when it matters.
But are you surprised that the Giants are sticking with Daboll and Shane?
I'm not. I like Daboll, and if you listen, a couple years ago they made the playoffs with Daniel Jones, so I think you saw what he could do, and he was so successful at really turning Josh Allen into an elite quarterback. When he came out of Wyoming, there were so many questions about his accuracy and his development, and I think Daboll played a big role in that. And we saw the success Daniel Jones had, and they took a big step back. But I think the Giants saw that. I think Mara saw that there is if we can find the right people, this team can maybe turn the corner. So, and I think it goes, covering the Steelers, you're around a facility, there's more than just, what you see on Sunday and the interviews. It's a camaraderie. It's how comfortable you feel with this guy walking into your office. And I think that goes along with Daboll. So, I don't mind the move. I think like Raheem Morris, that's, I question, I think some of these moves were, like Antonio Pierce, we know he got fired today. I think there's other coaches out there who are deservingly could be under the same scrutiny that, are going to remain under those jobs. So, but I'm going to give Daboll a pass. He had 1 year of success, a year backwards. So, I think it's a 50-50. And, they got to go out and get a quarterback and start to right the ship. But they got pieces. The defense has shown life. Malik Neighbors, we know he's going to be a superstar. He was a superstar on a dismal offense. So it's just a matter of finding a quarterback that can kind of really up the ante. But we see with Washington, you get a Jaden Daniels. Who knows that if there's a guy like that in this upcoming draft? But if they can find one and put him under center, the sky's the limit.
Anyone coaching this weekend that if they lost, they could be fired?
Sirianni, I think.
I said it earlier.
Yeah, I think Sirianni would be that guy.
Bryant, should we tell him your prediction?
We can.
Bryant made it. We made bold predictions for 2025 from a national point of view. And Bryant, tell him what you predicted about Mike Tomlin.
Yeah, mine was that the Steelers will trade Mike Tomlin. I mean, it was kind of what you were saying. He doesn't win in the playoffs, and maybe you think start something different.
Not the humiliation of firing, but trading. Get assets for
him. Trade him.
I love that idea.
Yes.
I love that idea. I mean, if you listen, you're not going to fire him, but you could get something for the guy if they've elected to go down that route. Listen, I would be shocked if they did anything with Mike Tomlin. But nonetheless, I feel totally. I'm in line with what you said. What if it happened? Like we know the Chargers aren't going to get rid of Harbaugh after D'Amico Ryans. These guys aren't going to get canned.
Jacksonville would be smart to trade for Mike Tomlin, wouldn't they?
They would be. I don't know if there's a no trade clause in Mike Tomlin's contract that he wants to work for Balky. I think that's where the thing comes into play is, if Tomlin was to get traded, hypothetically, I'm sure he would want some say in where he's going to go and whatnot. And I doubt he wants to spend all them weekends in London. And
they're going to get a bunch more with the stadium situation over the next 3 years in Jacksonville. That third year, next year, they'll play all their games at Everbank, and they'll play all their games at a very reduced capacity in 2 years. That third year, they'll play none in Jacksonville. They're going to play some games in Gainesville at Florida, some in Tampa, and I was told at the Gator Bowl, as many as 6 internationally.
Oh, geez.
Get over there and stay over there and play.
Good Lord.
Yeah, that's. I mean, it's what the NFL wants, and they have a franchise that's kind of willing to do it. But it's they want to expand. We know the intentions. I know we see overseas games, expanding throughout the league, and each year there seems to be more and more. And I like the home base. I like seeing these teams have their home games. In terms of just talking with, just say Brett, we text back and forth about the Browns possibly moving to Brook Park and out of downtown. I know that brings revenue to Brook Park, etc. But that downtown base of Cleveland and just the it's kind of when you go to downtown Pittsburgh on you just know the pulse. Pepe's sub. You're going to have lines out the door and the certain bars and where the people tailgate and they congregate outside the stadium in the city. I think there's something magical about that, and I think when you start to displace the fan base and you start to displace these places where you can kind of really build that enriched environment. I think that takes away from, what you love about the game, the tailgating and the camaraderie of the fans and, that time before the game where, everybody kind of comes together. There's always some disagreements. It's the football game. But nonetheless, I think that environment is what you miss when you take a team like Jacksonville, who really doesn't have they're the Jacksonville Jaguars. They are not the Raiders. They're not the Packers. They're not the Cowboys. They're a team that's kind of in flux, and they don't have a base.
They're not even the Buccaneers.
No, they're not, and that's why they're being kind of shuffled around. And I get it, And listen, they're going to make money, and at the end of the day, it's a business, And we're going to watch, 9 a.m. or whenever they kick off on a Sunday, and they're playing whoever they're going to play. We'll tune in, and we get that extra game in the morning, so you can watch football from 9 a.m. till midnight that day on Sunday, which not a bad thing.
No.
If you had to pick a team playing this weekend that could win it all, what one team would it be?
I'd say Philadelphia. I think Philadelphia. But I think a lot of these, I don't think there's, I think Buffalo can win it all. I think Baltimore can win it all.
I think the Chargers could.
I think the Chargers can. Yeah, I think like Tampa Bay, Washington, Minnesota, just because, I just don't think none of us believe Sam Darnold is the guy that's going to lead the Vikings to the Super Bowl. So that's kind of where but Matthew Stafford and the Rams. I mean, but I think Philly, Buffalo, and Baltimore, the teams playing this weekend, I think have a very realistic shot at being in the Super Bowl. I would be not shocked if Baltimore or Buffalo or Philadelphia are the teams that represent their conferences come Super Bowl weekend.
Mm-hmm. So, Bo, Rex Ryan and the Jets round 2.
I don't think it's going to happen, but they brought him in. I loved his remarks about the country club to Aaron Rodgers, though. I thought that was a nice message. And even if he does, I don't think he's going to get the job, but even if he doesn't, it was just a nice message. Maybe all coaches, I'm sure any coach that kind of steps into that role will appreciate that. Hey, you know what? Send the message to this guy that things need to change and to be successful. So I like that. I don't think he's going to get the job, but who knows? I've seen crazier things. The Jets are in the process of looking for that next guy. I mean, I don't think. I think they interviewed Vrabel. We know Vrabel's going to interview with the Patriots. I think Vrabel was the best guy out there, and if they haven't hired him, you got to kind of wonder what direction they're going, or if Vrabel didn't want that job in particular, and maybe he wants the Patriots job.
What do you make of the Bears requesting to interview Mike McCarthy?
I thought of you. I'm not going to lie. I thought
I hope you thought of me with my fingers crossed, hoping that
Bryant's helping him pack.
That Dallas would allow it to happen.
I know. Yeah, the Cowboys
Bryant
fans are kind of like
he was at
Steelers
Kinko's
fans.
at FedEx office seeing how much it cost to ship him.
That's right.
Listen, it goes back to the Steeler fan base, Cowboy fan base. It's Super Bowl or bust. Expectations are through the roof, and anything less than that is just frustration and anger, and we need to make change. And McCarthy is a good coach.
Yeah.
He's a really very good coach. And look at what he's done in Dallas. I mean, he's been absent of Super Bowls, he's been one of the most successful coaches since Jimmy Johnson. So, but that's the
show me a
standard
playoff
in Dallas.
win, Bo.
I know, but go back. I mean, who has?
That's true.
Garrett didn't do it. I know, but none of them have done it. So it's been a long, long process, and that's where that and goes back. It coincides with Tomlin and the Steelers. It's great coach, but not that playoff success that you're looking for. But I think it's a good move for Chicago. You're kind of looking for some semblance of stability from a guy with a proven track record who with a healthy Dak Prescott. They had success. So, and this year for Dallas, Dak gets hurt. Micah missed a ton of time. CeeDee Lamb was a late, sign. So, they took them a while for Dowdle to get going in the run game. They had Diggs, Bland, the DB, the secondary was, hurt all year. I mean, there's a lot of things where you could say, hey, they played hard for McCarthy going down the stretch. They had nothing to play for. So, I reside on the side of McCarthy, and I guess it goes back to the Steelers. If you're going to get rid of these guys, what are you going to do?
Mm-hmm.
Where do you go next? Who do you bring in that's going to change? And it doesn't mean guys can't. It doesn't mean the Cowboys can't make a change or the Steelers. It's never going to happen. But that you don't have success. But it's tricky. And I wish I could tell you who the next great coach. All these guys. Ben Johnson and the Lions. He's going to be the hot name. Where's he going to go? But who knows if these guys are going to turn into good coaches? It's you've got to have so many things playing your factor, and I'm put it this way: I'm just not going to be the guy that says, hey, you know what? If you hire X and X, you're going to have success. Look at Eric Bieniemy, Byron Leftwich; these guys are the hottest names, and now nobody cares about them. Kellen Moore, he's had success, but he was that super extreme hot name. He's going to get his interviews, but he doesn't have that the residue of, oh my gosh, what he once had. So you gotta hit it just right. You got to be on a great team, and that's how these guys find these jobs. You're never going to get a head coaching job with your team going 2-15, but nonetheless, it's a tricky thing. But culture, Campbell, the Lions, everything that the Lions are doing, it's the perfect package. But that's almost nearly impossible to come together so quickly.
Yeah, ask Josh McDaniels.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, look at the success Josh McDaniels has had as an OC with the Patriots, and then you would think his resume as a head coach would be above average, at the very least average, but it's been incredibly below that. So it's hard, and we see it. I think the NFL, it's you want your quarterback, so you just assume you have to have an OC and an offensive-minded coach to develop that guy, and it could be, but I think the Campbells. I think that Dan Quinn, you get a Cliff Kingsbury and a good quarterback, you can go that route too. But on the flip side, you look at the Vikings. You got O'Connell, good coach, good offensive mind, and you got Flores, great defensive mind. So it's you got to have it all. And again, that's the way you win. Spags and KC with Andy Reid. You have to have guys at every position doing their jobs. It's 11 men, both sides, all the coaches. And as Tomlin likes to say, everybody got to put their hand in the pile.
That's right. It's going to be fun to see what these teams do and who kind of emerges for a lot of these openings. But as always, Bo,
I love it.
Oh, it's fantastic. And add that to all of the action going on the field. It's a lot of fun. Bo, thanks so much for joining us. We'll do it again next week.
Yep, nice talking with you guys. Stay safe.
Thanks, Bo. Bo Marchant joining us to talk the National Football League and so much going on in the NFL right now with the actual action on the field and then a lot of teams trying to figure out what the future will look like for them. Well, before we get to a break, let me remind you about our 5 o'clock sponsors. It's Jaguar Land Rover Bluff City. Jaguar Land Rover Bluff City has been the premier Jaguar dealership for the greater Memphis area since 1984. Their talented team, they're ready to help you find your next perfect vehicle at unbeatable rates. Swing by Jaguar Land Rover Bluff City today and check out the new 2025 models like the 2025 Range Rover Sport, the 2025 Range Rover Velar, and the 2025 Defender. Test drive the Range Rover Sport where luxury meets performance. It's a perfect mix of style, performance, and versatility with options ranging from 360 horsepower up to 635. It's also available as a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle with $7,500 federal tax credit when leased with approved credit. Take a look at the Range Rover Velar, powered by mild hybrid technology and enhanced with the latest well-being features and fully connected entertainment system. The Range Rover Velar is the ultimate luxury compact crossover. Purchase yours today and get special 4.4% for 72 months financing available with approved credit. Don't forget about the Defender. Available in multiple models to fit your needs, the Defender is built for the modern explorer, and Jaguar Bluff City is offering special interest rates for 60 and 72 months on various models. Give them a call, 877-259-6169, or visit them online, jaguarbluffcity.com. sportstime.com. But please go out and visit them, test drive these beautiful 2025 vehicles. 6335 Wheel Cove right there off of Quince. They will get you in your next vehicle, and they've got all of those beautiful 2025 models on site. So go out and give them a visit at Bluff City Jaguar. Well, we need to get to another break, and when we come back earlier in the show, we did our 10 national predictions for 2025. Now we'll go local. 10 local predictions for 2025. That's next on Sports Time.
Join the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin, for Wolo and Friends. Weekday mornings from 10 to 11 here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
No two people learn the exact same way. So how did Babbel become the award-winning language learning app? We thought of you, all of you. Take Sierra. As a visual learner, she uses Babbel's wordplay videos. Merci beaucoup. Keith is a be in the room with real people kind of learner, so he loves the live online classes with our language experts.
Okay, class. Vos está pronto. Estamos prontos.
However you learn, Babbel makes it easy. Try Babbel for free at Babbel.com. BABBEL.com.
Tiger fans, don't miss the action when Memphis men's basketball welcomes East Carolina to FedEx Forum Saturday, January 11th. The Tigers will tip off against the Pirates in an American Conference matchup at 1 o'clock as we celebrate Kids Day with face painters, balloon artists, and a halftime baby race. It's time to stand up, Memphis, and support your Tigers at FedEx Forum in a big-time matchup that you do not want to miss. Memphis and East Carolina, Saturday, January 11th at 1 o'clock. Get your tickets now at GoTigersGo.com.
The Family Leisure floor model sales happening right now through the end of January. Family Leisure has got to get rid of all the 2024 inventory because all the new 2025 items are starting to arrive. All floor models are up to 50% off. You want a cold plunge tub? They start at $49.99. Go the other route with a hot tub. Get $3,000 off with free steps and chemicals. Family Leisure has pool tables, arcades, ping pong, air hockey, even baseball tables from 20 to 60% off. Well, here's it. Family Leisure has theater sitting up to 75% off. Plus, now's the time to start thinking about pool seats. You can buy it now, get on the installation schedule, and be ready before everyone else. Special financing is also available. Hey, if you want to get free delivery on any of these items, you just tell the phone staff at Family Leisure that you heard this commercial. It's the floor model set. Now, through the end of January, Family Leisure, we run I-40. Family and fun come together.
Tito's handmade vodka is America's favorite vodka for a reason. From the first legal distillery in Texas, Tito's is 6 times distilled till it's just right and naturally gluten-free, making it a high-quality spirit that mixes with just about everything. From the smoothest martinis to the best Bloody Marys, beyond the bottle, Tito's has gained a reputation for giving back, teaming up with nonprofits around the world to serve its community and do good for dogs. Make your next cocktail with Tito's and learn more at Tito'sVodka.com. 40% alcohol by volume, mainly 80 proof, crafted to be savored responsibly.
At Jason's Deli, when you're dining in or picking up curbside, you can expect wholesome food and no surprises, just delicious sandwiches, crisp salads, and quick quality meals made with the freshest ingredients and no artificial trans fats, MSG, high fructose corn syrup, or artificial colors and dyes. Around here, a lot of thought goes into what we put into our food and what we take out of it, because you're not just taking a bite, you're getting a taste of who we are. New items are constantly being created to expand our menu for all tastes and special diets with vegan and gluten-free options available. Convenience and on-time delivery you can count on. It's just a click away at jasonsdeli.com, so whether you need to feed 5 people or 5,000, the team at Jason's Deli, they have the credentials and the commitment to keep you satisfied. Freshness is nearby at Jason's Deli with locations at Ridgeway in the Park Place Center, Poplar and Highland, Germantown Road in Cordova, and on Goodman Road in Olive Branch. Jason's Deli. It's wholesome food and no surprises.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good afternoon. Traffic volume increasing right on schedule out here on 240 eastbound as you work your way from Mill Branch out to 385 Bill Morris Parkway. Had that earlier slowdown westbound just past Mill Branch as it builds now on 40 east from Sycamore View Road passing Germantown Parkway. It's starting to get really heavy now, headed out into Fayette County. Hey, at the Humane Society of Memphis Shelby County, you can adopt a pet right now and change a life. For more information on pets that are available for adoption, log on to memphishumane.org. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
So earlier in the show, we did national predictions for 2025. Now we're going to get to the local predictions for 2025. Brett, you started with national, so I will start with my local predictions. And we'll start with a Grizzlies prediction. A Grizzly will win Rookie of the Year, but it will not be the first-round draft pick, Zach Edey. Jalen Wells will win Rookie of the Year.
That could hit.
It definitely could. I mean, the way he's been
playing. It won't
playing,
be Edey.
No, it will not be Edey. But I do think Jalen Wells, the way he's been playing, if he can keep this up, will definitely be in the conversation for that award. Number 2, for me, both the Tigers and the Grizzlies will make it out of the first round of their tournament. So for the Tigers, making it out of that round of 64. For the Grizzlies, making it out of the first round of the NBA playoffs. I think that would be big for both of them to get out of that first round. Number 3, for me, the Grizzlies will not have a first-round pick in this year's NBA draft. We know they have one, but I think they will deal that pick in a trade, whether it's at the trade deadline this year or if it's an offseason move. I do not believe they will be picking somebody in the first round of the 2024 draft. Number 4 for me, Memphian Cam Jones, who is up at Marquette right now. He will win Naismith College Player of the Year. So a local player, a person who is a local but not a local team, I think he wins Player of the Year in college basketball. He has been fantastic.
His team could be around at the end.
They definitely could, and they play later tonight as well. I think a 7 o'clock tip-off for them.
Final 4 for Marquette with D-Wade, no 3.
Yeah, that'd be it. So
only time to win it, famously with Al McGuire in 77.
Yeah, so I think Cam Jones can lead them pretty deep in the tournament this year. Number 5 for me, Memphis, the city of Memphis, will have at least one state champion in both football and basketball, high school football and high school basketball this year. We know they sent 3 up and got 1 winner in football this year. I think they get at least one state champion in both football and basketball on the high school side. Number 6, PJ Haggerty will announce after this season that he is returning to Memphis for his junior year, and that would be massive. I mean, what he has done already this year, if the Tigers can get him...
And better for him financially.
Yes, it absolutely would be, and and that could certainly change. If I think his name will be out there in terms of transfer portals of landing spots at some big teams, and maybe someone tries to match the Tigers and what they can offer. I think they will throw everything they can to keep him, and that would definitely be huge to keep PJ Haggerty at the University of Memphis. Number 7 for me, Memphis football will play in the conference championship game, the American Conference Championship game, with a shot at the college football playoff.
We're running it back, aren't we?
Yeah, we're going to run it back. I mean, I love what Ryan Silverfield has done in the transfer portal. I know quarterback is going to be the big question, but I think they've got good options there and what they've been adding, especially on that defensive side. I think Memphis is going to be right back in there in the mix in the American. Now we're going to spread out a little bit more regionally. I think one, and you kind of touched on this with your Nationals, Ole Miss makes the college football playoff next year. They weren't able to get it done this year, but they're able to crack in to the college football playoff next year. Number 9 for me, Tennessee finally breaks through and makes the Final Four in college basketball. I don't want to go further than that, but they make the Final Four. Rick Barnes kind of gets that off of his back and makes a little bit of a run here in March. And then finally, number 10 for me, now this would be the one that would break everything if it happens. Memphis and Tennessee will announce a basketball series.
Oh, I hope you're right.
I hope I am too.
Maybe a little bit of the ice thawing a little bit.
Maybe, and certainly if both teams are around in March and are big stories, maybe those two, and we've seen a different Penny Hardaway. Maybe he can kind of break through with Rick Barnes, and maybe they can kind of
Would you rather see an announcement of a Penny versus Rick Barnes or a Penny versus John Calipari and the Razorbacks? If you could only have one of those two, which one do you prefer?
Oh, that's the ultimate hard one, Brett.
It is.
Give me Tennessee first, I think.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Especially, right now they're number one. They're better than Arkansas right now.
No, right now they certainly are better. And, I mean, it's hard because, obviously you have the history with Arkansas and obviously you have the history with John Calipari, but I do think that Tennessee-Memphis, I think it means a little bit more, and so I'll take Tennessee.
Good stuff. I'll start with kind of in the neighborhood, number 10. This is going to be the last year for Sam Pittman at Arkansas. Yeah. Everybody knows that coming up in the fall of 2025. But here's one, number 9, that I don't think anybody sees. After another heartbreak in Omaha, Dave Van Horn announces his retirement at Arkansas. So in the neighborhood with Razorbacks with the first 2. Number 8 for me, Phase 3 of the remodel at Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium. It will be official. Phase 3 is not happening. Capacity will be peaked at 41,000 for whenever they're finished with everything out at the fairgrounds. Number 7 for me, the Grizzlies and the Tigers reach a more favorable FedEx Forum deal for the Memphis Tigers. It's needed.
Yep.
The Grizzlies, some can say hogged all that money. Others can say, look, it was theirs to get. They need to be a good local landlord, tenant, or not tenant, but rentor to people. A little more favorable deal for the Tigers, including more access to the building to practice in.
Yes, I agree with that. Yeah,
for big games and things like that. Number 6 for me. This could be number 1. I'm not looking forward to it, but you can count on it sometime before 2025 ends. We're going to have all kind of affiliation with the Cardinals, leaving AutoZone Park, Redbirds drama. I've been warning of this iceberg for years. It's going to hit at some point in 2025. Craig Unger has been the single worst baseball operator that Memphis has ever seen, and his final act I think will be a doozy, something that David Hirsch couldn't even top. If he's going to win the Grand Slam, then number 5 for me is Scotty Scheffler wins in August in Memphis, and we know what the weather forecast is going to be.
It's gonna be hot.
Number 4 for me, Tennessee loses in the finals in college basketball.
Oh, wow.
To mean old Bruce Pearl.
Oh, an Auburn-Tennessee national
There it
championship
is.
would be great.
Number 3, I'm more bullish. I'm more bullish now than I was a year ago. Last year I based it all on the quarterbacks. Now I base it on I saw how close they both got.
Yeah.
Ole Miss, Memphis, both in the college football playoff 12-team bracket come December. Number 2 for me. This is prediction. This is not expectation. I talked about expectations yesterday, and I'm not going to do that to him. Tigers go 16-2 in AAC. They make the NCAA tournament, and they go to the Sweet 16.
Wow!
But if they don't, there's no recrimination.
It's a prediction. Yes.
You can't change that on him from preseason.
No.
This is a hope. This is a prediction. And number 1 for me, Grizzlies lose in the Western Conference Finals to eventual NBA champion. My number 8 national prediction, Oklahoma City.
Oh, man. Memphis and
I
OKC.
tied local to national. Did you
sure
see all
did.
that?
You did it very seamlessly, too. That was beautiful. That's incredible. Yeah, I love a couple of the ones you had. Certainly with Memphis in the final or Sweet 16. I mean, that is certainly a prediction. You definitely cannot move that bar from preseason, just make the tournament, to expectation being Sweet 16. So, yes, no, that is not changing expectations. That is just a prediction. The way they've played certainly dictates that type of prediction.
If the Tigers go out in the first round, it'll feel unfulfilled. We'll be I'm going to use the word disappointed.
Yes.
But it wouldn't shock me if they really went deep.
Yeah, no, it would.
Talking with Matt Infield an hour ago, those 3 guards, we know the currency, we know the formula in NCAA tournament bracket success.
Yep.
It's guard play.
Yep, it absolutely is, and they've got 3 really, really talented guards. They've got a couple guys in the front court that are really talented as well. So, I mean, I definitely think they can go on a
Brian,
run in March.
I was away, and I know that Chris Beard said it in his post-game presser, and he said it 100% sincerely complimentary that he thought that was the best Memphis had played all day. I know it irritated some,
of course,
and I don't really know why. But I do think it, and then Penny said, and then Penny agreed with him when questioned about it, and said it was a must-win that day. That they did. I can't remember the exact quote of they were more emotionally invested, and people were wanting to be irritated over it because I know it was coming from Ole Miss. And then Penny agreed, and said he was right.
How about that? Yeah, and that came right after the game against Mississippi State where Penny at the end of that game is walking up and down the bench saying they think we're soft. They think we're soft against Mississippi State. So, of course, they were going to come out and try to prove otherwise against a really good Ole Miss team. But, yeah, you're right.
And stroked them.
It sure did. I mean, I would say it was one of the most impressive wins of the season for Memphis. But, yeah.
And kind of had to have it. And look what it now has launched.
Yeah.
The put it to FAU in the good win Sunday.
Yeah, and they are really playing well right now. The other one that unfortunately,
I would just say if somebody pays you a compliment, accept it.
Yes, take the compliment. No, I'm with you on that. The other one that I liked from you, I guess I should say unfortunately liked from you because I almost put something to that effect on my list as well. But with the Redbirds, it feels like this year,
disaster.
Especially with the announcement of the exhibition game coming back this year, that once the Cardinal brass in full kind of gets down here, sees everything.
If they care.
Yeah, if they care, certainly. But that could kind of start that snowball effect.
And the whole lease deal and the lack of attendance and just what it needs for – this didn't all happen in a vacuum and overnight.
No. It has been happening.
And at some point, you can't blame everything on COVID.
No. Yeah, no. That window is shutting if it hasn't already shut. And it's as unfortunate as it is. I was right there with you. I mean, I was very close.
The blame is squarely on Craig Allman.
Yes, and I mean, like you said earlier, if you had 11 spots, if I had 11 spots, my 11th spot would have been something very similar with the Redbirds, and I hate it because I love having the Redbirds in town.
Yeah, and then that's going to spark all kind of questions of what do you do? The maintenance of it, the city, left with another boondoggle.
Yeah. No, it would be really unfortunate.
You can't put Bass Pros everywhere.
No. We only got one pyramid, Brett. You can only put it in the pyramid, I guess. And then, I mean, the biggest one was, I mean, imagine a Western Conference final, Grizzlies and OKC. I mean, just first off, the history of meeting OKC in the playoffs when you had the core four, and then you look at kind of how these teams are built with those young stars, those two young point guards that are already at stardom and could be the faces of the league in a couple of years. I mean, that would be incredible.
Wouldn't that be fun late May?
Man, sign me up. I would love that. But I like your
we'll go
your
back to hating them again.
And that's what we need. We need to get back to hating OKC because the hate
we're
has
part
been
of the hate
lost.
in 2025.
I'm for it. The sports hate, yes, I am here for the sports hate in 2025. But no, really good stuff for the both local and national predictions for 2025. Let's go ahead and get to our final break of the day. When we come back, we'll wrap up today's show with Crunch Time.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studio, we are Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
At Jason's Deli, when you're dining in or picking up curbside, you can expect wholesome food and no surprises, just delicious sandwiches, crisp salads, and quick quality meals made with the freshest ingredients and no artificial trans fats, MSG, high fructose corn syrup, or artificial colors and dyes. Around here, a lot of thought goes into what we put into our food and what we take out of it, because you're not just taking a bite, you're getting a taste of who we are. New items are constantly being created to expand our menu for all tastes some special diets with vegan and gluten-free options available. Convenience and on-time delivery you can count on. It's just a click away at jasonsdeli.com, so whether you need to feed 5 people or 5,000, the team at Jason's Deli, they have the credentials and the commitment to keep you satisfied. Freshness is nearby at Jason's Deli with locations at Ridgeway in the Park Place Center, Poplar and Highland, Germantown Road in Cordova, and on Goodman Road in Olive Branch. Jason's Deli. It's wholesome food and no surprises.
No two people learn the exact same way. So how did Babbel become the award-winning language learning app? We thought of you, all of you. Take Sierra. As a visual learner, she uses Babbel's wordplay videos. Merci beaucoup. Keith is a be in the room with real people kind of learner, so he loves the live online classes with our language experts.
Okay, class. Vos está pronto. Estamos prontos.
However you learn, Babbel makes it easy. Try Babbel for free at Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
Deep in the hidden wetlands of Florida, there's a honey so rare, it's only harvested 2 weeks out of the year. Tupelo honey, the gold standard of honey, specially bottled by Smiley Honey.
Here's why Tupelo honey is so special. It never crystallizes. It's diabetic friendly with a low glycemic index. Pure, unfiltered, and natural. Straight from the hive to your table.
Tupelo honey from Smiley Honey, the gold standard of honey.
High-energy, full-body workout that utilizes the same equipment and technology employed by Floyd Mayweather to achieve his impressive 50-0 record. The workout features 4 types of heavy bags, treadmills, rows, battle ropes, weights, and much more. Visit Mayweather Boxing and Fitness, located at 2257 North Germantown Parkway in Cordova. Train like a champ. Mayweather Boxing and Fitness. 901-673-1267.
This is pretty cool, and we're just getting started, so.
Spanning the globe.
Go crazy, folks! Go crazy!
This is for all the biggest crunch time.
You are looking live. In your life have you seen anything like that? Goodbye! Hello, high school.
It's obviously crunch time.
Hammer, nail, coffin, this baby is over.
Well, Brett, I learned a couple things today. The biggest thing being that it's been a very busy day for the NFL. We had the news earlier this morning that the Titans had fired GM Ran Carthon earlier this morning. Then later this afternoon, we learned that the Raiders were going to cut ties with head coach Antonio Pierce. And then you see everything happening in terms of who's interviewing where, what guys are favored. I love, and maybe we can start getting away from when the betting odds have you as a favorite. I always hate when, some random, some of them are good. Some of them are really good odds, but then you have others that aren't. And we learned this afternoon that the Grizzlies, who were everywhere it was being reported, were the odds-on favorite of getting Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler has no desire to play in Memphis, but I did see this earlier this afternoon that our friends at betonline.ag, who is a very reliable in terms of odds, right now, they have Commanders offensive coordinator Cliff Kingsbury as the current favorite to be the next Bears head coach at plus 200.
Okay, so he'll be with Caleb Williams.
Interesting. Maybe trying to get that idea of developing quarterbacks. I don't know.
Also, the breaking story, Dan Graziano reporting that Tom Brady's going to be primary seat at the table on hiring the next coach. Back to my national story.
Yes.
What do you want to be? You want to be an owner or you want to be an announcer?
Holy cow. Wow.
if you're other teams, you want him in your building checking out your guys to hire.
No, I mean, if he's
can't have that.
No, if he's in the discussion of the next head coach, he's going to be in the discussions of a lot of things, and
everything.
No. You do not want him around.
Now, if his ownership stake, which is nominal, percentage-wise, if it's just there to greet the season ticket holders and maybe announce the first-round draft pick,
appear at a game or two,
light the flame outside of the stadium, fine. But if you're really being owner, you can't be announcer.
No. You got to pick one.
What I learned today, Chargers are favored on the road for a reason against the Texans. Jim Harbaugh can really coach. Proved it with the 49ers, proved it at Stanford, proved it at Michigan, and he can lead a team. Justin Herbert, 23 touchdowns, only 3 interceptions this year. Chargers are the lookout-for team in the AFC. Tampa Bay, the lookout-for team in the NFC.
Yeah, I think you are absolutely right. What I could have done without today, we have kind of been hearing this. We knew it was coming, but the Mountain West made it official earlier this afternoon that Northern Illinois will become a football-only member of the Mountain West Conference, which I hate this move. I know it is only football, but when you look at NIU, a part of the MAC, the MACtion, all of these great games we get midweek in October, and then one of the better programs, NIU, makes the move to go to Mountain West. Now, yes, there's the argument there that the Mountain West will be a better football conference, but when you get back to kind of geography and things that make sense, NIU being in the Mountain West makes no sense, and I just hate that this move was made.
Yeah, football only. You're not even pretending to do it for every sport. I could have done. I know people could do without perspective guy. I can too at times, but I talked about it earlier. Brokenhearted, almost as despondent as I get over sports or anything else for that matter that I can't control. I was that after Ole Miss lost to Florida. But just like I said for the Tigers around their bowl game, I say now to Ole Miss fans after the bowl game, have a little perspective. Remember, from whence we came and what's been accomplished, kind of a bigger picture. I know that won't last forever, and I know the bar keeps going up, but a little perspective is a good thing.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Another thing real quickly, in what I learned today, Memphis basketball just tweeting out that P.J. Haggerty is on the mid-season Wooden Award watch list. For those who don't know, Wooden Award is another National Player of the Year award given out at the end of the season. So definitely big praise to P.J. Haggerty and what he has done so far this season. Where are you beaming tonight?
Odome on the campus of Gainesville, literally right beside the venerable Swamp. 3.5-point favorites. Florida, they are over number 1 Tennessee. Combined record tonight, 27-1. Florida with nicked up Saturday at Rupp. Tennessee undefeated and number 1.
Yeah, it's going to be a really fun game that just starts here in just a couple of minutes. Brett, beam me to the first game of the season between New York and the Bay. TGL gets started tonight. Tomorrow's golf league, started by Tiger Woods and Rory McIlroy, will get started later tonight, 8 o'clock on ESPN. For those who are not familiar with who make up these teams, these are who will be playing and who you will see on ESPN later tonight. For New York, the New York Golf Club, Ricky Fowler, Matt Fitzpatrick, Xander Schauffele on the other side. For the Bay, Shane Lowry, Wyndham Clark, Ludwig Aubert. Electric tonight.
Sounds like it's going to be cold.
It's inside. It's an inside event, so they don't have to worry about the cold. We're going to worry about the cold, though, later this week.
This is all computer, right?
Except when you get close, your approach shot and the greens are all there in person. So everything before that is simulator. After that, though,
Matt Berry hosting, right?
Is it Matt Berry?
I think so.
I'm not. I'm barely up on what's going on in this. I definitely have not gotten to the broadcast team yet.
Conference game tonight. Michigan at Pauley Pavilion. That's right. Big Ten.
That's
Michigan at UCLA.
This is.
And maybe the oddest conference matchup of the night. SMU in an ACC league game at the Dean Dome.
How about that? SMU getting on Saturday a home game against Duke, and then now tonight a road game against North Carolina, both conference games.
Did they win conference realignment or what?
Absolutely. I mean, now
in the playoffs?
Yeah, I mean, playing for free, they don't mind that. Getting in the ACC, it's worked out for them.
7 NBA games, including my predicted finals in preseason, Boston at Denver.
Yeah, it's going to be a really fun night. Some good basketball in college and the NBA. So enjoy all of the action, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow afternoon.